Thank you.
Suara.
Hello, hello guys. Sorry, I'm so sorry it took so long. I'm so sorry it took so long to get everything working. Hello. Hi Proton, hi Eve. Hi Chris. Guys, sorry. Freaking Twitch did not want to have. I bet it's Eve's. It might be because of the outage, I don't know, but it didn't want to have our streaming together well, to connect it basically. It was like one of the streamers is unavailable and like we're both live, what do you mean? So yeah. But we are fine. Everything should be working now. And we will be playing Supermarket again. Well, again, I didn't play Supermarket on stream for a while now. So we will be playing Supermarket, but not together. The classic one with the update that's multiplayer. We will see how that goes. I haven't tried that yet. Supermarket Simulator. Simulator. What the fuck? Why are there so many freaking supermarkets? Anyway. No, Grzegorz. Grzegorz always keeps coming back. Also, Pradon, thank you so much for 29 months. What the fuck? I don't understand time. I don't get it. I don't get it. Oh god. Fuck. Can you work? No. Hello. Hello. What the heck? Discord, please. Can you work? Can you work? Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Okay, now it's fine. Fine.
Finally.
OBS likes to disconnect my sources for some reason.
Oh. That's not good.
Yeah, I've been told that it's because maybe it's because I have a second profile, or maybe it's because I don't open it in administrator mode, and I do both of those things now, and it didn't change anything. So,
Well, that's OBS then. New kit.
Yeah.
Be right.
Just obvious things.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
On both ends. Hello. We decided that we had enough with the whole supermarket thing, and we've decided to start a British-Polish supermarket.
We had not enough of supermarkets, so we're starting another one.
Yeah, start another one, but better.
A better supermarket.
But yeah, I have no clue how multiplayer works or anything, so you have to bear with us.
Yeah.
Not an elf, by the way. I'm a fake.
Not an elf. No elves.
If you want an elf, that's tokens for you.
Yeah, that's Doki. Right then. Faye.
Right. And Faye.
Yeah. Sorry guys,
And have the zoomies.
my brain is still foggy. I had to take a nap because I had a headache, and now I'm like, oh my god, my life is truly beautiful.
Right, we've got $50.
50? What are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with 50? Hello, PD.
You tell me.
We're gonna solve.
We spent too much money on the sign. I blame the graphic designers on the sign.
I blame the freaking owners of the building, because I'm pretty sure they took all of our money.
Probably. It kind of looks like America, but we're not in America. This is the EU, right? People need to imagine. Okay, this is the EU, not US. So shush. Right. So, as a British and Polish supermarket, what are we going to be selling?
Bread.
Bread. Got you.
Bread. I don't know what else. Right now.
All right.
It's just full on bread.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I forgot how expensive bread is in this game.
I forgot how expensive bread is in general.
Mood.
Thank you.
Zale, thank you so much for 4
Bread.
months. What the heck?
We have no bread.
No bread?
Bread? Bread? Oh, there we go.
Oh my god, why do you carry it? It's so funny.
Wait, what? Oh my god, what? It's like that newest meme with that song said dun da 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 da.
G is drop. Look how epic it up.
Hold on. It's not great.
No.
There we go.
The full, I'm gonna place it. There's gonna be bread everywhere. Only bread, nothing else.
Only bread.
Only bread.
For God's sake.
Fish!
Oh, we're so screwed.
No, that kinda. No, not that kind. We know that kind of store. Wait, do we have to have deliveries?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Have you done any deliveries?
I have not.
It's basically Uber, but instead of Uber drivers, there's no Uber drivers. You do the delivery yourself.
Oh my god. I also played just a tiny little bit of what the game added with the, well, the security and thieves, but I disabled them immediately after. I was like, I cannot be bothered. I'm like, when I play this on my own, I would just like buy stuff. I would start a day and I would listen to a podcast while my workers did everything else.
Oh, fair enough. Right. I'm pretty sure we got pasta in Poland. I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure.
god, posh. Wait, that. Oh, yeah. I'm like, this is not pasta. That's flour.
It's half discounted stuff.
Hello, lady. Can I ask you to give me your money? No, wait, you are still closed. Never mind. Set a product's price.
Wait, there we go. Hooray!
Do you have to?
Day one.
Oh my goodness, what? Oh, got discounts? Can have discounts? Do you
Yeah,
know
it's-
what's the best price over here in this game?
Honestly, I forgot about prices. I normally do. Oh shit. Market value. Wait, I'm gonna shit. Bollocks.
Market, I
No,
click market
no.
price and I did just like round it up a bit. And a bit
People are
more.
grabbing it. Put that back, sir. We're not done.
Making bread more expensive than it needs to be. Yes, I can.
Yes, 420. Perfect. How much is the flour? $4. Thank God for
Flour.
that.
Flour.
Of course, he's going to give me a 50. Oh, I need to give him change for bloody.
And people will be like, oh, this is too expensive. He got
Made a sale.
confused. Got confused. You made a sale?
Sale $4 for flour.
Nice. What are he
Even
gonna
though-
do with just flour?
I know.
Goodness. Wait, I need to play something in the background. I forgot this game
No.
doesn't have music.
Buy everything. Buy everything. Buy everything. Come on. That's it. Grab some bread. No! How dare you only leave the bread? He didn't like the bread.
Did not want bread?
No, he didn't like bread.
Guys, buy bread. I promise it's good bread. It's been
Security.
freshly
This
cut.
man refused to buy bread.
Oh, he only got pasta. Please. Bene pasta. Bene pasta panzati.
I thought you were a customer then for a moment. Thinking like, why is that customer standing still?
I'm a
I'm not used to
customer.
them. I'm not used to
Buy
having multiplayer
bread,
in this
please.
game.
He bought bread. Bought bread.
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 Perfect.
Orange.
41,
bread.
50. Wait,
This was designed for
I can
European
count.
markets.
so you put a chance of resident
Wait,
of...
oh my god.
No, not Brighton.
If I take a step back, her hair changes into a low detail model and her bun
Rubby!
is,
Yes,
is
there we
just
go.
grey. The fuck?
Why have people giving me 50s? How dare?
Look at his man. Can I crouch this game?
Holy hello. oh.
Market price 369, 96 and 69. Oh god.
Why can't I math today? I can't math. Help.
You cannot math?
I can't math.
Math time! He didn't get anything! Go back here!
Get back here, you little bastard.
Wait,
Oh, he's running away. He's a thief. I haven't even got
we
stuff to
started
buy.
with 50 and we have 50 again?
Damn it, he stole stuff.
Do you
I
have
haven't got the
endless... wait... The heck?
I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna whack.
No, we...
$100.
Did we just... like... Okay, I got 740 right now, but we just somehow made it back to 50. Exactly 50.
That's not bad.
Dollars don't make sense to me! Dollars don't make sense! Because it's like 50, but it's like 25. Why is it 50? Why is it 25 cents? What the fuck? Wait, you got me equal?
Wait, you did 420 on the bread,
Yeah.
and it's doing what?
No, I'm just complaining about the coins.
Oh, fair enough. I was thinking like, no, he's a thief. No, sir, bugger off. No, you're a thief. I haven't got nothing to whack him with.
What's happening? Oh my god, we are...
He's stealing stuff. I have no tool to whack the bastard. Give me a box. I ain't got a box. Shit.
Ah, God. Why can't I...
Fucking theft.
Storage?
We can't. Right, immediately. I don't care. We're gonna go bankrupt. We're gonna get a baseball bat and.
Management. I want a license for a bat. Give me it right now.
We need $100.
What? How do you get
bread.
things? I forgot. I forgot.
We need to purchase it through the. What?
Cleaning. I'm cleaning. I'm cleaning your face.
That's right.
How does it look like?
Sponge.
How does it look like?
Wait, hang on. Let me get the sponge.
I see you're trapped in my gay and stupid maze again.
A woman. Bread store. It is a bread store. Indeed.
Yes. Mini bread.
Many bread. We only have bread.
Yeah, and we've got thieves stealing all our food.
Why? Tools. Why is it 100? Oh my god.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to treat it like Birmingham. I need to get baseball bats, knives, possible guns to protect food.
I'm so upset. They only...
We got 100.
Why did you only get that much bread? People, you have to buy all of the bread. Cannot
If we
believe...
buy the baseball bat, we've got $2 left.
I cannot believe this. We opened a bread store and didn't get bread.
Baseball bats are never cheap.
We opened a bread store and they're not getting any bread.
You know what? We're in the wrong industry. We need to start a sports shop and sell the baseball bats to shops like us who need the baseball bats. Credit cards. If I charge them $100, will that work? Damn it!
Free head clean. Oh, you keep free cleaning for you, sir.
Is he squeak?
Your head will be perfect. This looks better in the other POV, guys.
It's like you're trying to do like one of those anime concerts where the people waving the fucking glow sticks. Hey.
Yeah. The room owner is expected to complete the day. No, she's still thinking about the bread. Ah!
She stole the bread. Right, hang on.
You're getting a bat.
Baseball bats acquired. Baseball bats acquired. Come here, you little bastard. Fucking. Just drop the stuff. I got the bread.
Bread returned.
can't pick it up.
We don't have a basket. We have to get a freaking. Oh my god, we threw away all of the boxes too. It's just gonna lay here on the freaking pavement.
Right, I'm gonna end day. I'm gonna protect the bread with my dear life.
Okay, I'm gonna buy more bread.
Let's do it.
Oh no, you can't because the
Wait.
yeah.
Oh my, fantastic day. Total profit minus 30.
Italian bakeries and bread and pasta too. You went to a British Polish store and you did Italian bakery. I mean, this is fine. People confuse me for Italian anyway. I don't know why. This is it. We have $5.
Right. Can I grab bread yet?
Let me,
Let me pick bread.
okay, I have bucks for bread. What are you doing?
It's right here. It's right here.
I cannot pick it up with the freaking box.
Oh,
Oh,
that is all I'm gonna.
that's evil. You need to have the freaking basket.
Squish the bread. I'm gonna
Kittens,
squish it so no one steals it.
hello. That has happened a while. True. But does that mean my accent changed? No.
Right. We're gonna be.
You're just bread
We're
today.
open. Right, if I swear I see any of them, I am whacking them on.
It's tainted bread. No, it's not in foil. It's packaged. It's fine. The only choice took more bread. Exactly.
Hi.
You can buy a sedan.
Sedan.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, car. I was thinking like, what?
I didn't know.
I was thinking like, we could start a car dealership. Hello.
Yes, just one car in this entire store. Hello, bald man.
Yes. Buy
Buy bread and
Bread.
don't try stealing bread. I will make sure that you do not succeed. Okay, he has a paper thing. I forgot the name.
Sir, I think you forgot to buy the rest of the stock. Sir, buy the rest of the stock now.
Wait, my bread stopped working. My brain my bread stopped working.
Too much bread.
Bread
Only
for
bread.
error 401 404. I can't even read, Jesus. Except it's just bread. Can we get a basket now? Can we get a basket and then recover the 2 pieces of bread? Ah! Crate mine! Bread!
Oh, bread! Get it! Security.
Bread,
Hooray, we've
bread is
recovered.
back!
Bread.
Bread.
Get out! Get it!
Not ready.
Thief!
She's not ready to accept the fate she has
Come back here!
brought upon herself.
You either deal with the Brobby guy or you deal with the Polish. Make a choice.
Collect the garbage. Garbage? You have garbage now? Oh my god. Who the fuck did this?
What the heck happened to turn around for 5 seconds?
We didn't even have flour and pasta here today.
Oh dear.
Oh no. This.
It's a sandwich.
Brosh.
I am not eating that because I don't know where it's been. $13. We're doing great. No.
Proszę pana, czy chce pan kupić chleb? Czy chce pan kupić chleb? Jest pan bardzo niski. Potrzeba panu więcej
Start getting the
chleba.
Polish people in.
Potrzeba panu więcej chleba! Co to za dzielnica? Wszyscy są ubrani jakoś tak elegancko, jak weszli na bankiet. No nie wszyscy są chleb! O, mało chleb! Mało chleb. Trzeba kupić więcej chleb.
I'm guessing somebody did Polish road.
Chleb! Czemu kupiłam 2 makarony? Jak do tego doszło? O, pan chce chleb?
Hold on.
Pan chce chleb? Proszę mi dać... o nie, nie ma reszty, no dobra. Grzegorz Brzęczyszczykiewicz. Chleb.
You didn't even give me a chance to put it on the shelf. You just grabbed it.
Mój
Cheeky get.
Boże. Proszę pana, my tutaj pracujemy w 1,5 osoby.
Right. And to answer your question, PD, I don't know.
Proszę pana, zapraszamy na makaron, znaczy suchy, twardy makaron, na mąkę i na chleb. Na chleb. Na chleb. Mąki. Na mąkę.
Monkey. Wait.
Będę musiała wytłumaczyć żart.
Uh-oh.
Chleb.
I'm gonna...
Mąka. Mąka.
Hold on, PD, I'm fixing it. I wouldn't mind,
Yeah.
to be honest,
No.
because believe it or not, where I live, there's a fairly large community for Polish.
Ooh.
Oh my god, Discord reactive images has changed.
Makaron. Makaron, makaron. Bla, 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 bla.
I'm gonna
10,
quickly.
9. Kolejna osoba? Ło, jakie pani ma wysokie buty. Pani ma wysokie buty. O, pani kupuje chleb? Pani chce chleb?
There.
Ciemno w sklepie.
There should be a Neo. There we go.
I am free from my jail.
I heard. the PNG matches that. Out there. So please don't make me go back there.
Oh gosh.
There we go. Neo's
What?
on the screen.
People are coming in. This
Good.
hour.
Oh my god, it's gone dark quickly.
I am blind.
Who leaves sandwiches on the floor? How dare?
Who left their breakfast in here? You jail? I feel like it's from... No!
It's not wrong.
Let's go. Thank you for the high quality Polish entertainment. No, thanks for stopping by. I have to explain the monkey joke. Because flower in Polish is mąka, and you can say mąkę, which is you want flour. It's like you chcesz mąkę. You know, it's just different version of the word. So sometimes we just laugh that, you know, like, oh, what does
Monkey.
like. God damn it! What's the word? But yeah, a lot of monkey and flower jokes because it's just funny.
Right. Oh, I just realised we went from $13 to $134.
We have.
Thank God.
You can buy more bread.
God. Just like one whole shelf full of bread and then just one item and everything
We
else.
should have a full wall of bread, at least a full shelf of bread. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Great.
Uh,
Good. Yes. Perfect.
Wait, did you buy a crate?
Yeah, I got a crate, yes.
Oh no, I've got to buy my own crate.
Oh my gosh.
This is not good. Wait. It's broken. Uh-oh. I have crate. Right.
We're here.
Boom. Profit. Wait, bread prices are dropping. The stock market's crashing. No.
No.
Wait. Pricing. Come on, Ash, and use your brain. We have to drop it. Oh my, that has dropped really bad. What's to do that? Maybe. Bread. Average cost. Market. There. Pasta's gone drastically up, so that can go up.
What? Price has changed?
Yeah.
Bread.
There.
Bread.
Should be good. Right. Buy stuff now.
Yeah.
That one. So we need bread. One of everything else.
Why? Oh, this game is evil. They took away my jumping privileges.
What do you mean?
If you get on
There's
top
like
of
a
a
bit.
trash can, you cannot jump.
What the?
They knew
That's
I've
bizarre.
been trying to climb on top of items, of objects. And now they won't let me do that anymore. God damn it.
Okay, we're expanding.
This is the only thing I enjoy doing.
Wait, pricing. Check the other pricing.
Right.
Yes.
Monkey. Monkey. I have a joke with the flower. It only
Go
works.
for it.
It only works if you know the word I taught you. So what does a monkey miller do? Monkey.
God's sake. That's bad.
I know.
Oh god. Who needs to learn French or German or whatever else? You can just learn Polish to do monkey.
I thought my jokes were bad. Listen, this is the only way I can use this word. Okay? And I've been waiting for an opportunity for months.
Months. Oh god, disco, hello.
Ah, ghost. Closed. Yeah,
Fun
open!
fact, you are the ghost.
I'm a ghost, that's why I do tricks. Wait, oh
Oh
wait.
my god, just saw the jumping.
Wait, show me how the jumping looks. Monkey! Monkey!
Oh no.
Today's Tulsa engineer. Are you sure? Oh my god.
Our brains aren't working, it's now literally turned and it's broken. Brain broken. It's just monkey. That's it.
Monkey. Monkey selling bread.
You want to know something as well? There's a British tea brand called PG Tips, and guess what the mascot was before it rebranded?
Did they have a monkey?
It was Monkey, the PG Tips monkey.
Monkey tea.
I'm just upset that they removed him because apparently he's not relevant anymore. It's like, how dare?
What do you mean? How was he relevant before?
I will send you adverts. It explains everything.
Give back the monkey. Give him back his job.
Yeah, he needs his job back.
Sure, welcome to the store selling bread and the monkey. I mean, and flour. More people coming. I was just wondering, why do all of the people here look like they are going on to a gala or something? Why are they all dressed up?
You know what? I question this as well.
This woman's hair changes color when I take a step back. Okay, I'll stop being useless. I'm glad the computer now shows stock.
Yeah, it is way better.
You can.
Because fun fact, I used to do management in this area, and it's like I'm glued to the computer constantly.
Oh my goodness.
So when I first got this game, we were like, game? Why is it not on computer?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm like, what the heck? What kind of quality is this? Do you want me to just stand next to a freaking shelf and count how many items are left? What? Like, you can somehow make it work if your store is as big as this one, because you see if a shelf is getting empty, but like as soon as you get 2 rows, it's impossible.
Yeah. And guess what? The computers went down for a whole day, one shift, and I spent, I kid you not, 7 hours counting the estimated thing of every single item.
Oh my god.
Because we had a discrepancy come through. It's like, oh, we've got discrepancy in stock, can you count it? It's like, you hate me.
That sounds
How
like
dare.
pain.
It is.
I'm scared.
And I think, if I remember correctly, the range we had was about 12,000 items.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take a nap. Goodbye.
Couldn't find the pasta. Uh-oh. Hold on. I'm on it.
Pasta! Which one? Only change stream and zone. I thought to ban you for the monkey.
That's hilarious. Wait, what? Huh?
Why did it
Wait,
change the stream?
Neil,
What happened?
have you seen how much pasta's just appeared?
No.
Oh my god, what the hell's this? I ordered 2 boxes and it's given us 4 boxes of pasta
What?
and a box of flour.
Oh, so I didn't order the wrong amount. The game just glitched before. Okay, that makes sense. I also get like twice as much pasta as I ordered before.
Right, we need to do a flash sale on pasta.
Just get a bunch of pasta. Oh my
Hang
god.
Discount. What we're doing? We'll do 20 for today only. 20% off all pasta.
Of all pasta. Lady, you didn't even get pasta. You know what you're missing out on? Oh,
More pasta. I'm just chucking it everywhere.
more pasta.
Oh, thief! Thief!
Thief!
Grab the thief! Grab the thief!
I don't have a bat.
Oh, if you press tab, it should pop up.
Oh. Which one is a thief?
This one.
Wait.
Not that. Wrong person.
Wrong person?
There we go. That's the right one.
But
You
she,
just hit. Oh no.
but she
This one-
also
this one.
lost bread. How does that make sense?
Oh no.
She put 2 breads on the thing, but then when I hit her, she also lost another 2 breads. What? I'm confused.
We're just beating a customer up.
I cannot. I think I broke her. What the fuck? I broke the customer.
What?
I'm confused. Did she just not pay?
No, I charged her for the card.
Oh. Okay. Oh, she gave it a card. I didn't see. What the fuck? Did I click on it and just miss it or something? What the fuck? Brain not working.
1 pasta.
One
Excuse me.
pasta!
It's on sale. Buy 2 at least.
I don't think he understands the concept of sales.
Hang on, they might be Polish. You might need to speak Polish to them.
They didn't even get the pasta! It's on sale, people!
Right, what type of pasta is it? Will it upset the Italians? It might do. So, I think it's the one what the Italians hate. Yeah, I think is it that one?
Bene.
Right, we need. Is there anyone in chat on either end Italian? We need to confirm this.
Imagine someone beats you with a bat and just says, sorry, I got the wrong person.
You're Italian, right? Okay, hang on a second. This thief's about to steal something. Bonk him. Get out!
Porcodio?
Is that the wrong type of pasta?
Why am I lagging?
That's why you do the moonwalk.
Why am I lagging? Oh my god.
Beep, beep.
That was
Yeah, is that pasta shape? Is that the wrong one? Because I can't remember the streamer, but I was watching a VTuber. They went a whole tangent about like the incorrect pasta, like the one which is useless.
The one that's like
at one point.
the one that's like smooth without any rows in it on it.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if that's the right one or not. I think this is why we're not selling it. Nobody wants to buy it. It's the wrong pasta.
The wrong pasta. No one wants this one.
I heard crunching of an apple.
Crunch.
Thank you for. Yeah, I forgot I updated my sounds, so it's not so direct. Thank you for the follow.
Grooved. Groovy.
We might need to increase sales.
What if I hit every
pasta.
person that leaves the store?
Just as they leave. I think we've got our stock problem fixed.
What's happening? Why is this pasta just slide around? This game is so broken. If you move, the pasta just slides around.
What in the tub?
Yeah.
Cool. On my end it isn't, but right.
They don't have good enough graphics, but like optimization is nothing. Not in this day and age.
Yeah. Oh. We made money.
We made
Got
money.
$300.
What are we getting? Are we getting new lotions?
Let's have a
Shushu.
look.
So sugar powder is. No, why are you losing value?
I believe it is, yes.
Bene rigate.
Oh no, it's just
Bene, but no, nothing underneath. So, just have to guess. Just have to make shit up.
Then it's right. It's the right pasta. Okay, they're just uncultured.
We want some penne.
Right, hang on.
They want to come to our store and get a bunch of penne.
25%.
Half price.
There you go. I've been generous. Hang on. Oh no. Licenses. Where did we go? It's management, right? Yeah. There we go. For $200, we can sell bottle of water,
A bottle of
cheese,
water.
water, cheese, coffee,
Ooh.
eggs, milk, and tea. There we go. There's the British part of it.
Are we
Boom.
getting? We're getting leaves.
Oh my god, expensive leaves. Jesus Christ, $55.
They are expensive, but also people like them.
It better not be Earl Grey, because that's awful.
I don't like. I mean, I don't really.
Oh, I was about to say you can order milk, but then realised we don't have a fridge.
Oh, that's true. Do you know the joke about the English, the Scottish, and the Irish at the base of the stairway to have what? No.
Oh no. Tell it. I need to know.
Hey.
Why is it? Wow, why is it so expensive?
What?
Okay, we now have officially close to broke.
We know a Welsh, but not an Irish. It's funny to me that you also have this type of joke. Guys, over here it's the jokes are about Polish, German, and Russians.
God.
Are we ready to open the store?
I think I've. There. Wait. I don't want to give away stuff for free, so let me just double charge people. We'll charge stupid money for tea because it seems like it's an import.
Oh. You guys have to buy the tea.
Why is it? I'll leave the passwords that because we've got too much. That's fine.
Pasta.
Yeah, we're good to open. Yeah.
Opening the store. Hello, can I interest you in a pasta? One. It's one piece. A pasta. Doesn't want any. What the heck? How are you? You seem like you want to eat a bunch of bread. I think I insulted him.
Oh God.
So you, hello gentlemen, do you want a bunch of tea? I have tea. Our store just stocked up on fresh tea. He's coming in. Whoa.
Is his tie glowing?
Probably.
He's got a LED
He got tea!
tie. He got the tea!
Yes! And what? Bread?
Yes.
Okay.
My typical shopping list is literally bread and tea.
Hello! More people. More people. They also want tea? That's cereal. Are you baby? Are you eating cereal when they're in your freaking suit?
He gave you an absolute look as well. Jesus Christ.
In your silly little suit? Monk.
No one's buying the pasta. Oh, there we go. There's one person.
Please buy the pasta!
Excuse me, ma'am. You are small. What? Since when do they have small models now? Look at the height difference.
She's small.
Small.
She's small. Let her be small. That means she needs to buy more, to eat more, to grow more. Down to hell!
What are you looking for?
Another tea buyer. You wanted a water! You wanted a water.
What?
Water.
Bottle of water?
Yes. Oh, this guy. He bought two boxes of tea. What? Ah!
Oh. Ah!
I pressed
What happened?
I pressed the wrong button.
Oh no. What did you do?
I don't know what I did.
Did you just lose money?
I don't know if we... Can you give them not enough money? I thought you couldn't.
You can overpay them.
I thought I gave them not enough. But that doesn't make sense. I thought it stopped you from doing that. Yeah, what? Oh, I think I gave him too much. The fuck? Like, press the wrong thing? I'm so confused, Brian. Ah! Oh. Imagine
He's just staring at you like.
you're giving money to a cashier and they'll just like stand there watching it like.
Yeah. You know what he did? He literally was looking at you like that. That worm meme saying, "Robert, This rock is pissing me off.
I'm a worm lady. What do you want? She doesn't want to give me the card. Doesn't want to pay me. Can you try checking if she has money?
I think she's after the card, isn't it? Oh no, you just press enter.
What?
Or not? Card?
She didn't
Cash?
give... Yeah, she's just standing there like, what do you want? Please give me a way of payment.
Uh-oh, I can't even close the till.
Uh-oh.
Oh wait, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
Oh wait, oh hello, she's got some stuff just come out her ass apparently.
Oh, now she wants to pay. What the heck? Maybe she thought maybe I won't ask for money. That's not how it works. That's not how that works.
There's a sandwich, who wants it?
I'm gonna get you. Are you watching? I'm watching. Wait, I didn't finish reading the joke. But I am busy with my customers.
Get free head wash.
Yay! He's a student, I think. He definitely needed that. Oh, he wanted water. This is so sad.
We need a fridge. Fridge.
Oh god, no.
Oh bollocks, they're expensive.
What's expensive?
The fridge.
We have money.
400 nearly.
Oh, what the fuck? Oh. You just need one more
The
step
item
and
what-
skirmish you to paradise. That point the Irish
What the
reply is
heck?
still chuckling. I know, but I just got the joke you told me. That'll be me. Be like, I wasn't even listening to any other jokes, I was just still thinking about what the heck you told me before. E-Black is too expensive. Stop complaining! People bought it.
Thing is though, it's the item that's on sale and no one still wants to buy it. Even if it's the last item on the shelf.
That's so weird. Do you enjoy the Tower of Coins?
I'm on mop duty now.
Well, you're just gliding around. Did she get a tea?
She's looking for something.
Please, people, just get the pasta.
One.
One.
What? It's 25%.
He doesn't
So
understand.
we're gonna have issues. We're gonna have
Lady wasn't
issues. You're gonna be
watching.
barred from the shop in a minute.
They... sir! It's literally 9 PM. You can't just march into here the moment we decide to close. Okay, fine. You get to buy your fucking pasta.
Oh,
Swear to God.
it's bought free.
Why does the item stretch so much when he picks it? When he picks up a thing, the model just stretches sideways. So weird.
He's
What
an
the
alien.
fuck, lady?
Faith out.
Not only a thief, but also we are closing now.
The worst kind.
Why do we need this box?
I don't know. I really don't know. Right, we've got money for a fridge, but it means we're gonna go bankrupt.
True. We have nothing. We only
Great.
have tea.
You know what? Oh, have you seen the shops?
Mm,
Come this way.
shops.
We're going on an adventure.
Adventure!
Because instead of paying stupid prices through that system, right?
Yeah.
you can come to the different shops. Like for this one, this one's the dairy shop. So you can buy it at discounted, even further prices.
Oh.
And you can buy it after closing or before opening.
Oh. That's
Especially
cool.
you can get milk. You can get milk for $6 rather than $12 and all that jazz.
Nice. I didn't
But yeah,
see
if you
this.
press M, all those places you can go visit.
Why is there a place that's like a freaking tree? What is that? What
Oh,
is...
it's a park.
What?
I don't know why, but yes.
Why is that marked? What the frick? How much for the fridge?
375.
What the heck? No fridge for me.
No. I need to hydrate again.
Another day, another thief.
I'm going to go for hydrating. There. I've got cold tea, how dare.
Got cold tea?
Wait, hang on, we only made $55 then. What happened?
What do you mean? That's not a lot at all. I'm gonna go stare at the deli.
Did I? Whack. Whack.
Wholesale. They also have pasta on sale.
I'll come help because you can only carry one box at a time, which is the unfortunate part. That's why they encourage you to buy vehicles.
What the fuck? But I don't know the prices in the computer. I don't have them in my brain. What? They have oil. Oil
Got
and bread and susu.
oh dear. Cereal.
You want some susu?
Some susu.
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 Sucro en podre. I don't remember how expensive they are in the thing. Is this actually?
Oh yeah, so basically whatever's on the left is what's on the system.
Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, and the one on the right is the one for the shop.
What
So I've
the
got this
heck?
box I just bought. I'm gonna run back with it.
I'm getting bread.
Oh god.
Why is there such a big difference in price?
I don't know. Maybe it's to support local.
Baby. Sale.
I could take the sale off now and charge them full price because I am not like that.
Yeah, they don't want sale, so they won't get anything.
And you watch, as soon as I put the prices back to normal, it's going to sell out quickly.
Yeah, they do not appreciate our generosity.
That stupid song's in my head now. Read.
Which song?
That meme one with the weird skipping.
Skipping.
I don't even know why it's a thing. I just one day scrolling through TikTok and all I hear is that song going dun, 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 dun. Just for God's sake.
Oops, I bought another susu. I was supposed to get a monkey.
What? Come on. I'm supposed to get the monkey. Really?
Because I do not know where it is. Oh, there it is. You can buy cereal. Maybe.
This is pain going back and forth.
It is. But we are poor!
Paul, we're going to have to do the old fashioned way walking with our feet.
Yes. I stole your spot on the rack. You have to find a different one.
Damn it! I stole this one. I think we're doing progress, but I can't tell.
I don't know. It's...
We're level 5.
Wait, I got coffee. Didn't get coffee yet.
Nope. Couldn't afford it.
But this one is cheaper, so better. It's better because what am I even?
Cheaper equals better.
Yes, that's exactly how store owners think.
What is this? Is it potatoes?
Potatoes. Potatoes.
A vent. It's Among Us.
Among Us. I don't know how expensive this should be, but this is fine. This is fine. Are we getting anything
What
else?
have we not? Yeah, what else do we need?
Oil.
Oil?
Yes.
Oil, 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 oil!
We don't have a fridge. This is so... Oops, aggressive. Never mind, it's fine. Can I click open?
Yes.
Open. Hello, can I interest you in a bottle of water? Oh, wait, hold on, we don't have that.
Bottle of water.
You can get tea or coffee, super fresh, new in the store, new product. She's coming in. What is she getting?
Bread.
Bread!
Bread.
I knew you're a woman of culture.
Coffee.
Coffee!
I was about to say she's about to walk out
Oh,
there.
yeah, I was like, what the hell? Wait, hold on. 25. And oops, 4. Only 24 for all of that? Damn. You guys need to pay more. You have to buy more. I know we are a small store and you don't really have a lot to buy, but...
This is great.
They're coming! He looks like a CEO of like underwear company.
See, our pasta's nearly sold out.
These people have no idea how business works. They only pretend.
True. Get myself in trouble for saying that, but
Oh,
bottle of water.
no! So listen, we don't have a fridge. Did you know that the water goes bad if it's outside of a fridge? She's thinking. Oh my god, clones.
Oh my god, twins. Uh-oh, Uber.
Uber!
Oh wait, no mind, it's a wholesale offer. Do you want to sell 24 bottles of that? I would, but I don't have any stock. Oh wait, I can actually... Oh, wait. I'm gonna run quickly.
I made like a freaking goat sound. By accident.
Oh, it's gonna expire. I want the money.
No, it won't expire!
No. Hold on. I'm gonna buy it and throw it at the door. Hopefully it's gonna work.
It will be fine. You still have time.
No, I don't. It's about to run out.
No, you still do have time.
There. Done. Set.
You still have time.
Oh wait, press pay. You need to accept it as well. Waha! We made money.
Woohoo! Now we
That's
can
cheating, but
buy
yes.
a fridge.
Hell yeah. But yeah, it's like they literally the offers and stuff are very short timers.
That's so
Unreal.
weird. What if
So-
I'm in the bathroom? You got so much powdered sugar.
But yes, we can get fridge.
And we can buy water. I'm gonna go get water.
Do we want a coloured fridge?
I don't know.
We want pink? Have a pink fridge?
You want a pink fridge? You can get a pink fridge. I didn't know they come in colors.
Yeah, there's different colours. There's the standard. There's like a. They don't even say the name of it, but I'm guessing that's a black.
All right, this is
That's
not
a turquoise. That's a light. That's a light blue.
turquoise.
There's some sort of dark green, orange, and then there's the Markiplier yellow, as I call it. Blue, Markiplier brown, navy blue, Markiplier green.
Oh my god. I got to change my stat.
Just stick to the normal, I guess.
Ah, the fucking queue!
The queue?
Yeah, there's a queue!
Holy.
And I was just
Right.
running around with a box of water.
Fridge. Fridge. Have your water.
Have your water. Yay! You just come here and buy one piece of Yes, one piece of flour. I don't know how that would work.
We have fridge. We're successful.
Yeah, fridge. I'm gonna go buy milk.
And I will not go get cheese because I'm about to have a customer.
No cheese. Ooh, milk is half price.
Not bad.
Hello, do you want some milk? Do you want some milk? Oh, do you want some milk? Oh, he's coming. Oh my god, he's coming. I have to quickly set the price. The milk.
Right. Bastard.
This
You couldn't even give us a chance to put it in the shelf. How dare you? What did you...
Oh, I didn't know it lowers a level.
Oh, we lost the level.
Whoops. I'm sorry.
Milk. He's crying over spilled milk.
What the fuck? Who am I supposed to like give us to now? That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, the window's dirty.
Can't have that. Oh my god, who pooped in the corner?
Wait, what? Oh, God. We need toilets. I ain't got any toilets.
Our bath. Oh my god. My brain is
Math.
like putting out sentences in the wrong order. I was about to say our bathroom needs toilets. No, wait. Our bathroom needs stores. That's exactly what we need. Cheese! And egg. We need egg.
We're having big sales here now.
Well, I have cheese.
Ba-da-bum.
I think the milk is too expensive. I panicked.
Oh, God. Cheese.
Cheese.
Ma'am, we're closed.
Like, I don't see the door being closed. What do you mean? I got egg.
God. Coffee and water. Looking for eggs. How dare.
The fuck, I'm just walking here with the eggs! Don't you have waited a minute? Jesus.
These customers, I swear.
Complete. Today. Ooh.
We lost money.
What?
Ow.
Oh, we got a fridge. That makes sense, though. Considering we got a fridge, that's not too. That's not too much of a loss. Leo Ghost, what do you mean? What does that mean? Tea! No! Our tea has lost value!
Let's have a look. Pricing.
My goodness.
I've dropped by $2 equivalent.
No! I'm too lazy. I don't feel like running for everything.
I think we're good. Let's go. No, we're not.
We're not good on anything.
We were ready. It's not. Right. We'll make it work. Red.
Red. We only have.
What is it?
We only have sugar.
Oh dear. Distraction.
Distraction. What? What distracts
I'm hungry.
you? Hungry.
I'm very hungry.
Okay.
There's a place called Chopped Cheese and
What?
it sells burgers. I've got
They're
to go there. I
open,
should be
but it
looking
won't
at
let
them.
me in.
Right?
What the? Wait. Why does
I've
this?
eaten before stream and I'm starving now looking at that bloody place.
They want you to be hungry.
Red.
Red. I love jumping on top of cars.
Not really. I don't like either, really. But I used to support hometown. Though. Red.
Yeah, I did a ghost. I see. What's racist against Polish? What the fuck do you mean? What are you saying, sir? Oh, wow. The open don't let you in? Oh. I think they just don't like people who own stores. Which makes equally as much sense. Hello. Hello. But they do own a store. But this is a restaurant. I think they're upset because we don't give them bread for free.
Meh.
Making up shit.
Restaurant.
They want
pasta.
Pasta? Or a burger? What? Are you getting pasta or are you getting cereal?
I've got the pasta.
What if you had a burger with pasta?
don't know. That sounds American. I wouldn't be surprised if Americans did that.
You know, funny you say that. I think there was KFC burger with mac and cheese.
I had the famous mac and cheese. And the smashed potato.
Oh my god. It smashed against a wall. What else do we need?
Sanity. Well, I don't think they sell it.
They don't sell that. Wait, what? Ah. So I went on the wrong side.
Water is
Water.
$7.60.
Oh,
What else do we need from here?
I don't know. Pasta burger would be disgusting. Well, do we got pasta? What? Yo, what?
I feel like it's a wasted journey for me to come here, but I would have to go back and see what we actually got.
You can get
What the fuck? Pasta is a thing? What do you mean it's a thing? Wait, what?
I told you it's a thing. Wait, replace bread with pasta? What?
Does that make it a lasagna?
Yeah, what?
Of some sort of cursed lasagna?
I don't like that imagery. Are we all ready?
Oh no! Don't get PD to mention random food because she'll come up with some insult that's food related and somehow be a real thing without even googling it.
What the heck is waffle nuggets? It's actually baked
like
spaghetti? Isn't that lasagna too? Makes more sense than you would think. I don't know.
I thought it'd be like ravioli at most.
Gotta get lots of spaghetti.
But yeah, there's also another thing called flip-flop waffle, or whatever it was. What was it? Flip-flop donut.
Look,
PD,
look,
I need to know these words.
look. You have to come here. You have to come here. These stairs are not
Oh my-
real. These stairs are not real. Look.
Oh no. Oh, I was about to say, did you get yourself stuck then?
Oh.
Oh wait, hang on. We have got a shop.
Oh.
We got a queue.
Sorry, my monkey instinct took over. I will give you a free wash to make up for my sins. Flip flop waffles. That's like that. What? Eh? What does that mean? I never understood savory waffles. To be fair,
There's different types of waffle.
I haven't tried them, but like my brain is like, I don't get it.
Waffles.
Waffle.
Oh, you mean like potato ones?
Waffle. Waffle.
Poo just come through the floor.
What? Through a floor?
That just appeared in front of me.
Oh my god. I don't like these people. They are...
So organized.
Are we?
Maybe.
Stop buying water as I'm putting it in the freaking shelf. I'm busy restocking. Putting back this one piece of anything.
Yeah, right.
I want shallows. I crave them.
I think we made money today. I think.
Ooh.
But unless we have to go grabbing stock quickly because of that run out.
Ah, pasta!
Hello, PD.
You sent the pasta
Waffle burger.
burger. Pasta
Oh
burger.
no, we're not doing this one. Oh, for fucking burger. No,
What the
please,
fuck is
no.
that? What the heck?
I want to. I'm not pronouncing that because I already butcher words as it is.
Grzegorz Brzęczyszczykowicz. Oh no, I'll show you guys the pasta burger. It looks ridiculous. I don't understand. My brain is like against the whole idea of it existing.
What is the typical
Look at
Polish supermarket anyway?
What?
What's the typical Polish market look like? Or is it literally nothing really special?
To be honest. Difficult to explain. But it's
Because
like...
normally in the UK, we've got, as soon as you walk in, you get like slammed in your face with fresh veg and stuff most of the time.
Like, it depends. Some stores do have that, but some are just like, you walk in, and then you have a bunch of shelves, and then like, you cannot even, like, you have to ask for everything. You can just, you know, it's not like a self-serve thing, but not really. It's not really anything all that special, to be honest.
Fair enough. Because I don't know why, but it might just me, but when PD took me to the Netherlands, I lost my mind over one of like the convenience shops. Because it's so weird. Because I'm so used to obviously seeing like healthy food and stuff when you go in. This place we went into, you go in, you turn left, you've got like a cake heaven, like just cakes and donuts and all sorts. Like, what the hell? That's the first thing you see.
Cake. I wonder.
And then it went from like cakes and donuts to fish and meat, and we're thinking like, right, okay.
That sounds like
And
more like just a supermarket.
Oh god, don't get me started on that, PD. I'm getting hungry as it is.
I brought flour.
Yeah, Kiblinger is something I want. I don't know if you know what that is.
I'm
heard
Italian,
of
I'm
it?
less against it than you. I don't know, my brain is just like, I don't understand this.
Right, do you like fish?
Me? I do.
Yeah. So basically imagine white fish chopped in cubes and deep fried in a soft batter. And you just get that in a big, like 1 kilo serving.
I want that.
That's it.
I want it.
And the thing is that you only get that from actual fishmongers, not a supermarket. You just go to fishmongers where they have fresh fish. They're the only ones who make the Kiblinger.
I want it. What the... Has my brother at my house and he's sleepwalking? Oh no! What is he doing? Just walking around?
Oh god! Every time we talk about food, I'm getting hungry.
I'm gonna get hungry.
I'm hungry. I never stop eating.
The food is good. Are they even buying the milk? Not no, they are, but they're like, ooh, expensive.
Look! Stop coming in the shop. We're closed.
They do not understand the idea of closed.
Apple pie. No, PD, stop. It's legal.
Apple pie. Why is... Wait, filthy French.
No, I did not. Well, that's funny.
The freaking automod blocked that.
Also, mod blocked it.
Yeah.
It knows the British and French don't get along, apparently.
Oh god.
I don't do those types of insults, but I've seen some people in public do like that, and it's just like you get a British person and a French person fighting. It's just like get the popcorn and watch them for half an hour.
Oh my
That's your
goodness.
entertainment for the day.
Closed. No more coming in. You guys don't understand the concept of closing.
Wait, Italians are legally obliged to dislike the French? Oh god, please, I need to know this.
What? Give me the backstory.
We need backstory.
Yeah, we need the context for this.
Oil's
Oil!
going up in stock. Oil! It's on the citizenship
What the
form.
frick?
Do you hate the French? What? What? Please do this as a joke.
What are you guys
I
saying?
need answers.
What are you guys saying? Oh.
Wait, basically the French domination of Italy was a disaster.
Oops, I got too much oil.
Am I missing history lessons?
I don't understand.
Oh wait, oh, is this to do with the Napoleon thingy? Napoleon.
Napoleon.
Napoleon. I can't even pronounce his name properly. Napoleon, or something like that. I was just thinking, like, saying, what the hell did the French do? What actually was like invading type? Like, oh yeah, you got that angry short Frenchman.
Was he even short? I've heard
Yeah, I think he was 4'8" or something.
people yelled at me being like, "Ooh, he wasn't really short." I'm like, where did
Is he not that short?
where did that come from? Where do you get your info?
I'm contemplating. Was he actually short or not? Yeah.
French food were different from English food. Do French have long food? Pizza even.
Why did I find that funny? Why is that funny?
That's normal, I guess. Ah, I see.
Oh, there we go.
I see. French feet are long.
Or short. Well, I don't even know.
True. When I play basketball, they have no balls. not the French. God.
What's this is not my normal conversations in my stream. How is it turned into a collab chat thing?
What?
It seems that every time I stream, we go on to some weird tangent, and then it always comes back to talking about Europe country problems.
Relatable.
Because I think I had a tantrum last time, something about the fucking Spanish and English for like half an hour.
Oh my god.
And it was like the previous topic was talking about pandas. So I went from pandas to talking about the British and Spanish for some god knows what reason.
Pandas.
Yeah.
Don't Polish like French too? I don't. There's nothing like. Not really. Like, there's nothing in our history that would really make us hate them. They even mention in our freaking national anthem, for like, you know, for saving us from something. But like, it's like, generally speaking, people. If you're a normal person, you would probably not really be like, you know, not really love them, but there isn't when... Listen, people are stupid, people don't think about reasons. People are very short-sighted.
Yeah. And actually, Nia, have you actually seen a Dutch person in real life?
Me?
Or not really? Yeah.
No.
No, they're tall.
They're tall.
Like, Jesus Christ. I felt like a fucking midget when I went to the Netherlands.
Even Napoleon was short-sighted.
Jesus Christ.
They promised you help and they bailed out when you needed it. I mean, listen. A lot of other countries did that too.
No, but the thing is, when I went to the Netherlands, I thinking, oh yeah, okay, Dutch people will be quite tall. And then when I was standing around them, be like, I'm fucking a midget. What the hell? The thing is, though, I'm classed as like more or less above average for British people.
If I'm
And I go up next to them, and in the photos, when I got photos with the family, I look like I was on my knees or like sitting on the floor or something. I was that fucking short.
Oh god. Who are you asking right now, Chris? Both? I'm
Both?
5.8.
I forgot what mine was. What was my height again?
In centimeters, it's 173.
I think I'm 161 centimeters, if I remember right. Outside the V2 bin.
I lost count. Every time I have my license, I have to grow. You cannot be shorter than Napoleon.
I can't remember. I don't even know. I don't even want to ask PD to come measure me right now because they'll be like, nah.
No measurements. I don't know what do we need.
I don't even know. I'm just going back and forth like ADHD's literally saying distraction. What the hell are you doing again? Oh yeah, distraction.
We have everything. Fine.
Oh, sorry, bot just got sniper shot on a bot. Just secretly go on your tiptoes. If only. I think it's that I don't even pay attention to my height because it's like I'm not got any disadvantage and stuff really,
Sure.
or like consciousness be like, okay, am I tall enough? Oh wait, am I short enough? But I am skinny, so normally when it comes to the construction stuff, to be like, okay, there's a manhole there, you can fit through, get through it.
Oh god.
Oh, there's a crawl space. Okay, get under it.
I'm
I'll
on
be
the
living in your
building.
walls. You would have what?
I'm on a building.
Holy, how'd you get there?
I don't even know. I was doing this without thinking. Eva! Eva Loa! Pista, here's my height!
We got everyone going, parkour!
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 Eva's tall too. Oh, hello, sir. Ah.
You're tall.
Oh.
Uh-oh, we've got a glitch again. We got that glitch again.
Oh no! Wait, he has a card in my screen. Oh,
Yes, card now is still cash.
this is so.
Make your
weird.
mind up, man.
I don't understand.
I think
don't
I'm
get
160. I forgot. I don't know. The last time when's the last time I measured myself?
That's how I am. Wait.
Thank you for the follow, fart bath. Love the name.
Firebath is a very known individual.
From your end?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everyone has
Love the
a
name.
everyone has a reaction. I got to the store and I forgot what I went there for.
Mood. Oh wait, hang on. There's a sandwich with a green stink mark.
I'm good.
Blech.
Why am I sinking into a car? They won't let me walk on top of cars anymore.
No. Oh, you're tall. Hello. You're tall as us all, nearly. Ding. I actually have not been paying attention to the money. Look at the money. Nearly $700.
Money.
I'm out of pasta.
I'm coming. Can get a storage. Gotta get a storage.
Hug. See, we're doing well.
Why is a bike 1,000?
God knows. Where the hell's that come from?
My feet are dirty. Maybe that's.
So.
You just showered? What? But that wasn't about you, Chris.
You can put on that pasta approved by.
Did you try it?
Bum.
Our bath is the cleanest. You've heard it here first, folks.
Thank you for the follow. Appreciate it.
I forgot what they come to buy.
Every pasta.
Pasta, probably.
Something. Yeah, pasta, eggs. I don't know. Something.
Oh god. ADHD brain be like, I'm walking, I'm reading the chat before I get to the store. I forgot what I even what I was even there for.
I promise we're professionals.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's why
the British are Polish.
Yeah, that's why we were
West
only
Congo.
supposed to carry bread. Leaving the milk on the floor seems like a bad idea. It's fine, don't worry about it, it's fine.
Professionally lost. True.
It's fine. Ivory!
I see you're trapped in my gay and stupid maze again.
You wanna cut on my sails?
I can't reach the light. Can't reach the light.
Just for a little bit. Ooh. Flower! Why do I keep yawning? I had a nap.
Get out my hands. The box is glued to my hands. Help.
The box is glued to your hands?
There we go. I've sorted it.
How did that happen?
I don't know. The game just went, nah, I'm not going there.
It did go off. I heard it.
Oh, I got the PD here. Hold on. Advance GG. Full.
Hello?
Oh, hello. There's a customer.
Customer. Looks like she wants to steal.
Yeah, that's the stealer. Grab him.
You're too slow. You're not even trying to run away from me.
Hold on. I can't. PD! PD!
What's happening?
I don't want to leave my chair, but she's trying to pass my advanced GG tub back, and I can't reach it.
Oh my god. Wow, this man is getting a big shop. Wait, that's not even a...
Hold on.
He didn't even pay that much.
Look, just because I'm short arm. I'm
Short
fake.
arm.
I'm stuck. Oh,
Goodbye, Eve.
get the back of the chair. I'm stuck. I don't know. Let me out this chair. That's fine.
Lady, we are closed. Jesus, they're expensive. Go home. Jesus, they're expensive. I will only buy water. Oh my god. Really? How do... Why?
Wow. I'm back.
She said, Jesus, they're expensive. I will two packets of coffee.
Well done.
And paid exactly 50 bucks. Dude, that's spent. Did you permanently remove the ban game action button? Yes. I forgot I did that, so it's gone now. No, what did you want to do?
Oh, right.
I have this, you know, I think it's a default point redeem to ban an in-game action. And I disabled it last stream because people would be like, oh, you cannot jump. And I was playing Tomb Raider. What the fuck am I supposed to do? And yeah, I forgot to re-enable it. I want to jump, ban jumping. No, you're not. No, stop it. We're not doing that. I am people. You weren't the only one though. That happened before too. Unless you did that in an earlier stream as well, and I'm just actually no. I was banned jumping, saving, and running in the same stream in the same moment.
Oh, God. So what were you meant to do then?
I was just walking. Wait, no, I was shooting. They let me shoot at least, so yeah.
Right, eggs from the dairy from behind the shop.
No, I'm gonna go get sugar.
Okay.
All in one. I'm gonna be using the ban action redeem. Fine, I will re-enable it, but just because I'm not the only one working here.
Nah.
So you cannot really break the game too much. But it's gonna go if I'm playing Tomb Raider.
Oh, I forgot as well, there is actually Twitch integration that is with this game.
Oh god, what does it do? You can have...
If I remember correctly, it's basically you get Twitch views coming in as customers. But I think you can decide on what you buy, but I'm not sure on that, to be honest.
Wow. That's pretty fun.
I have to double check what it was, but it's been a while. They might have removed it.
No, bring it back. But well, it probably is broken if they didn't update it for multiplayer.
I feel like we're missing something. We're not ranging an item, but I don't know what item that is. We've got everything, haven't we?
Yeah. I didn't have enough points to ban the shooting. They will always ban me from saving because they know I like to abuse it.
Well then.
We
Cereal?
need cereal. Cereal and coffee. Yeah, and water. But I wanted to do... That's mean. It's like a forced break. Yeah, one time they banned me from everything, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom then.
Well then. Is it a temporary ban, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's like, what the heck am I supposed to do here? You know, the only thing I could do was just basically sit here and just chat, because, yeah, like, what else can you do if you cannot play the game? And you're playing a game. If they ban you from every action that really lets you play the game.
Yeah, I think I did something for a donathon, I think. I don't know if it was last year or the year before that, where I said, right, you can ban actions. And one of my mods decided to save up all the points in the world. And as the stream went on, they started to ban stupid actions, like saying, I banned the F key, I banned left click, and stuff like that. It's like, you monster.
Oh my god.
It's not even PD. This is one of my other mods, Shiro. I don't know if you've met them or not. Probably not.
You have almost 700 saves on that game? Listen. In that game, you can slip and die on just taking a step. It's never not enough precautions.
PD, do you remember
enough, rather.
which stream it was? Was it last year or the year before that where Shiro decided to go YOLO and start banning actions like left button and middle mouse and F key and the W key?
You forgot to go to the bathroom and then you feel bad? What?
What?
No, I'm confused. My chat.
I'm reading it. I'm confused about that.
I don't understand. For Germany,
Yeah.
why would you even get that? That doesn't seem like makes a lot of sense. If you forget to go to the bathroom, you feel bad. How can I forget to go to the bathroom?
I don't think you're going to forget because your body's going to be like, I need to do this quickly.
Yeah, that. Maybe I'm just confused. I don't know. Fair. Wait. What are we getting now?
We have money.
We have money.
We have many things we can do.
We have money.
Oh, it's the end. Oh wait, hang on. Let's just do this first.
There's someone. You do like I gotta finish the level. I do. But like, I don't understand what that has to do with forgetting to go to the bathroom. Unless that's not true.
Oh god, we're overdue on bills. So
Bells.
one moment whilst we all the money disappear.
Oh, forgot about bill. Can we buy storage?
We can. 800 though.
No, never mind.
So we can get another license,
Another license.
but it's 400.
Fine.
But that gives us peanut butter and flour,
Oh.
olive oil, spaghetti,
But we would need
rice, and salt.
another shelf thing for garniture.
Let me do some wiggling.
No, wiggling.
What?
I opened. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, okay, never mind. I'm so confused then. It's like, sir, we're doing restoration.
Listen, you cannot say that when it's you who forgets. I don't forget to go to the bathroom.
God. Wait, I forgot the most important thing.
Forget I delay.
Bum.
Play a song from a music player. What the heck? I got an
I've got
achievement.
speaker.
Got an achievement.
Yeah, behind you.
Ah, it scared me. Oh my god. Big shop.
We have musica. So we must be professionals now.
Elevator music.
Wait, can I put that on the door? No.
No.
Can I put it here?
You don't need
Sure.
door.
No door? Okay.
Pop, pop, pop. I need to.
Even with 2 people, I thought this was going to be much quicker leveling up, but nope. Don't change a thing.
I mean, we keep getting distracted, so there's also that. We need more of the. I don't know.
That sounds like a good idea and a disaster at the same time.
Yes.
Wait.
What?
Uh-oh. Pricing! Ooh!
Ah,
Oh, well, God, we're losing money on stuff because it's gone
Milk.
up.
this
Shit.
milk is like too expensive.
Hold on. Milky. Oh, yeah, it's dropped like down to $2.
Oh my god.
Just trying to think. Cheese. Bottle of water.
Bottle of water.
Okay, I think we're good. I think. And the poop's coming through the floor again.
Oh god. I can't with you people. I saw this woman get 2 bottles of oil and I was like, oh my god, this gave me flashbacks to when I first played the game and I was like, oh my god, you got 6 bottles of oil? Wow, amazing. And then I realized I forgot to set the price.
This game is not very forgiving.
No.
Oh, look, it's Robert.
Robert?
Robert.
Murder them. This guy! Oh, okay,
He's
never
got that
mind.
look on his face like, I see dead people. Right, past that. Wait, how much is the vehicle?
1,000.
1,000 for a bicycle.
Yes.
And what? 4,000 for a scooter. Jesus.
Oh. I think
know
they
what?
only steal if they don't have a bag in their hand.
Yeah, is one of those people.
No.
Yeah.
But
You know what?
I was just thinking.
What do we need? 2. I'm gonna order from here because I just run out of stuff too much.
Yeah, it's too. It takes too long to run around like that. Also, I'm lazy.
Incoming ad in about 3 minutes.
3.
I need to get in. Right. Right, throw that in the corner. Papa!
Did you know that sir? Well, sir means cheese in Polish.
What, sir?
Yeah.
It's cheese.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm gonna basically call people cheese.
Yes.
Oh wait, so if I say big sir, it means big cheese.
Yeah.
The more you tell me about this stuff, the more I want to learn Polish just for the shits and giggles now.
I don't think there's like a lot of things that overlap so much, but every time it's just something silly.
hang on, Jesus Christ, these people are fucking ramming the fucking shelves.
Oh my goodness. With French, for example, the funny word is bread. Because bread is du pain. And that's basically one of the forms of ass.
Well then.
So the lady teaching us French in school, she was very unhappy with the reactions.
I used to be good at speaking French, and then the school decided to say, no, we're not doing French anymore, we're doing Spanish.
Oh my god. I would
Halfway
prefer
through.
Spanish, to be honest. French was hell for me.
The thing is, though, the Spanish language fucked up my French so badly because I was quite semi-fluent in French to the point I forgot every single thing in French.
Oh no! That's evil. I was terrible at French because I didn't want to just sit there and what the fuck am I saying? And like, well, memorize things. Because with some things I just didn't have to do that, and some with other things I would just have to sit there and just fucking stare at the page, and I was like, I don't want to do this. And because French, like, numeral systems is pretty funky, it just didn't work with my brain.
Also, question: is English forced in all the countries in Europe, or do you just learn it side by side?
I'm not sure. When it became, well, required in middle school for me. I think now it's a thing from elementary school, but when I was in elementary school, I only had German.
Huh.
So yeah, so I started learning English quite late.
Yeah, because in my school, it's like they started, like elementary level. We call it primary schools. They say, okay, you need to learn one of the following. You need to do either French, German, Italian, Russian, or
Oh my god.
what's the other one? Spanish, I think it was.
Oh my god.
Or and Portuguese is the other option. So there's me, right? 4 year, like not 4 years old. Well, how was it? No, it's about 6, 7. Me sitting there like, what? And I have to choose one. I couldn't. I didn't have a chance to sit and think about it. I got literally 5 seconds to choose which one I wanted to do. So I'm like, French? Question mark.
I just realized that middle school is not a thing anymore over here.
Is it not?
No. They returned to the old schooling system a couple years back.
I'm trying to remember the primary school system because I had to try and convert it for Americans at one point. I think kindergarten is something we call reception when it's only like for like it's kindergarten and nursery are the same thing, but then we have 1 year called reception, but 1 year in reception is still classed as kindergarten for America, and after that is classed as primary school. So like year 1, 2, 3, 4 to 5, and I think that goes up to the age of 12 to 13-year-olds. And when you go to secondary school, which is high school equivalent, it goes all the way up until age 17. And then after that, it's like college and university, if I remember rightly.
I used to be able. I don't speak German in German, but I don't remember how it went anymore. Ich Deutsche spreche nicht something. I think I forgot a word.
I wanted to learn German when I was in secondary school.
I was learning German for so many years, and I never was able to really say anything proper in it.
It's one of those things like when you get older, it's like, oh yes, I want to learn this language, but then the education system said, no, you got to learn this one. It's like, why?
The option of German, Spanish, or classics, because they're learning the difference between an Ionic and Doric column, is just as useful as being able to talk to a person in their country. Ooh. Interesting. I wish I had like choice, but yeah, when I was I think in third grade, I really wanted to learn languages, and that's when I started off my first year of well, German classes, because that was the only thing that was available. It was optional at that point, but like you had to take it from it was a requirement from obligatory from fourth grade upwards. So yeah, I started it in third grade, and I was really like, you know, it already went well for me in the beginning. But then I remember that we had a quick test, pop quiz, and I was like, oh shit, I don't remember how this fruit was, and I wanted to check real quick. I wanted to do a sneaky look into my textbook, and the lady noticed me, and I was so upset that she noticed that I was trying to cheat. That I was like, I don't like this language anymore.
Yeah, PD got forced, unfortunately, to 4 languages in one go.
Dutch, French, German, and English. Oh god. We had to learn French, and we didn't get to choose until grade 10. Oh gosh. What do we need to get? I forgot.
Thank you. We got somebody just popping in.
I got here to buy something, and I don't remember what it was. Tea, I think. Are we low on tea?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my god, there's only one left.
Okay. I was just trying to like remember how the shelves looked before I left.
I've actually got a German textbook for secondary, like high school level. Because I said to PD, said, right, I want to learn German, because at the time I was trying to get ready to go to Berlin for the TwitchCon.
Ooh.
So before, okay, we'll get some books and stuff. And then she tried to teach me German, and then I had my German friend trying to teach me German as well. And then I was looking at the textbook and be like, what rocket science is this shit? That's fucking confusing. You know, it didn't help with German if everyone spoke Swiss German. Oh yeah, Swiss German's slightly different, if I remember rightly.
But yeah, learning languages only really works if you want to learn it, basically. If you are forced on it, no matter how much people will like beat you into it, it just won't stay in your head. Brain's like, nope. First test and all of that knowledge is out.
Also, outside of VTube, I've recently started working in hospitality in like hotel type stuff at the moment.
Ooh.
I got given the choice to learn Ukraine.
Ooh.
I tried to learn them, because I said, yeah, I'll go for it. I'll be like the dedicated, like, what do you call it? Welfare guard staff member. So basically, if they have concerns about what's going on, they can come to me and I'll be like, okay, let me deal with that. It's easy to learn, but very confusing to understand from what I've understood. Because obviously they've got the Latin alphabet, but then obviously you got that that other alphabet. I can't remember the name of it, but you know the
Cyrillic?
Russian Ukrainian. It's like the symbols and stuff.
Yeah.
That thing that got confused the crap out of me.
I never learned it. I never had to study it.
But yeah, it's like, as soon as
it was an option in high school, but I didn't pick it. In high school, I could choose from. I had to learn 2 languages, to study 2 languages. It was advanced. One was advanced, which was either German or English. I picked English, of course. And then the basics were there were 4 options, I believe. English was not for me since I had English as my advanced thing. Then there was basic German, basic Russian, and basic French. And I was like, ooh, French. So I picked that. But there were smarter people. For example, people who picked German because they were like, well, listen, we had German for so many years. Which means you just go basic, and you basically don't really have to do a lot because you still had some of that knowledge from earlier years. And I was like, fuck, I was trying to be, I was trying to actually learn something new. I didn't think of that.
Well,
And then there were people who actually picked Russian. They were like, ooh, you know, this is not really all that difficult either because you just learn the Cyrillic and then you kind of just kind of work your way through it. And I was like, heck, I didn't think of that either. I just basically
when I tried to learn, when I go to like, when I tried to get like into anime and all that stuff, I tried to learn to read like the kanji and all that stuff. I don't know if it's just my dyslexia or not, but some things are like, oh yes, I recognize this symbol, and then other times I'll be like, what is this crazy symbol? Help.
Yeah, it happens. But yeah, Gamescom. Jesus.
I honestly need to get to conventions and stuff.
I never really attended many. I only attended a little bit of like anime conventions. I think up until this year, I only visited 2 before. This year I've been at 3 because I've been actually vending my merch. But other than that, I don't really go out too much. Are we ready? Are we? Oh.
Yeah, because the only major one I've really gone to inside the UK was the one called the MCM, which is like one of the big comic cons.
I've been to MCM once.
Yeah, I've been there once. I forgot what happened. I come back and that was it.
So before this year, I've been to 3 conventions, not 2.
Nice.
I've been at MCM in 2018. Yeah, I was visiting friends, and we were like, well, it was basically like, listen, there is this convention, how about we meet up and go there? I was like, you know what, okay. I just basically traveled to London for 4 days and came back home. It was such a stupid thing, but well, it worked. It was pretty fun.
Oh my god, we've got money and stock.
Oh, we have money. Okay, now we can actually do some, remodeling. So before I forget again and I open the store.
Right. Tetris mode.
Distraction.
Boom.
Hello, Dory. The bread store has become everything store.
Not so pretty. Yeah.
And also, I keep forgetting what we're doing, and we are running around and being like, oh, we have to restock on bread, and then we go to the freaking place.
Yeah.
And
we start screaming parkour to our lungs.
And we are like, wait, why am I here again?
It's like parkour.
Borg here. Oh, or we'll just start talking about something unrelated, and then it's all gone. Brain is not braining anymore. Borgir. Have they changed the textures for these?
It did, yes.
They didn't have
slightly.
They didn't have the rows. The indent in the rigging shelf, yeah.
Yeah, I think they updated it because people whinged too much. So, right, so we've got that there, that
They've
there.
been very smooth. Ah! Wow! But now you cannot put things in the corner. Wait, could you put things in the corner before?
Not the corner, but you can sort of put like here.
Oh. Yeah.
Yay, we're professionals.
Yay! Upgrading! The
And it needs
tiniest...
more work.
Let's glorf shit. No. We have milk on the floor. As it should be.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Bum, 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 bum. I love room temperature floor milk. Yes.
You know, one thing what annoys me:
What?
milk.
Milk annoys you?
If you buy whole milk,
Yeah.
it goes out very, very quickly. It's like when it has a date on it, it says, "Oh, I'm going to be out at date, say the 20th." When it hits the 20th, it does a whole dramatic pose of like, "I'm out of date. I'm all lumpy. I'm awful. I smell of cheese." And then when you buy fucking semi-skim milk, it's like, "Nah, it's only the 20th. I can last 5 more days." I'm like, "Wow." I don't understand the difference between whole and semi-skimmed, other than I know it goes through a different process, but whole milk seems to be the dramatic, like, I'm dying pose of, like, Shakespeare bullshit, and then semi-skim's like, "You're up, bruv. I'm still good. You can drink me."
Oh my god. Same with like lactose-free milk. It's like, I don't know what day it is. Wait, are we getting more licenses or are we just gonna...
Yeah.
Oh.
We will get motorbike license.
License?
You got a license for that motorbike?
I don't have a license for anything.
License. We can get the peanut
I
butter.
can't curl
jelly,
myself.
peanut-
Stop! No cardling!
New license. More work. More energy.
Spaghetti! Gotta get loads of spaghetti.
Wow.
I'm staring at the loading area. Staring at it with my eyes all open.
There, hider.
Oh my god! If you cover the sun with the what's it called, the crosshair, it disappears.
Yeah. Under there.
I know a magic trick. I can make the sun disappear.
Hmm.
I want flour under
Organisation?
flour.
Yeah, let's do some organisation.
Yeah. This.
Oh,
What the fuck was?
oh, dang, just froze then.
Yeah. It scared me.
Let me do bread.
Susu, get the fuck. Actually no. I changed my mind. I can move the. Pasta. Pasta. Pizza pasta. Put it in a box.
Spaghetti. So I sound like Pokemon now.
Pokemon.
It's like spaghetti, spaghetti.
Good. Pasta next to pasta.
Salt.
Oh.
Um.
I'm making a mess.
Oh God, what we're doing? That'll do.
Terrible. Yes, as it should be.
Peanut butter.
Peanut butter. Peanut butter jelly time.
And now there's an empty spot there. Oh, that's annoying me.
We have to move peanut butter to higher up, and then we have to do another row of tea and coffee.
That works. Tea and coffee. Not doing it from that thing. I'm going over here to grab it.
Yeah, that's too expensive. The same product. Expand product.
What's everyone's favourite food? I need to know this. What's everyone's go-to food?
Cheese.
Cheese.
Doesn't make sense. That sounds like I just take a block of cheese and I just snack on it.
Melon bread. I want to try melon bread. PD made melon bread,
I never had
It's
melon
good.
bread.
but PD said that the melon bread's different over in Japan.
I never had melon bread. Melon bread. Just one box of tea.
Oh no, that's annoying me.
You can check, set the prices maybe, and I'll go pick that tea.
Yeah.
What would be my favorite food? I don't know. Something fish. I
Something,
like-
something fish.
Yeah, I like fish. Fish is good. They won't. I was about to buy tea. Look at our money.
Oh god, we're nearly bankrupt.
I click on it like, oh, why doesn't it work? Is the game broken? And then I check the money and like, oh, never mind. No, but it's basically a sugar-coated crispy sweet bread. Ramen noodle. Noodle.
Right, prices are set to you need to sell your kidney and take out a loan to buy.
Oh god, good. But yeah, my favorite is just any kind of fried fish, basically. Fish good.
And I hated that PD's put the kibble in my head because right now I fucking want some now. God's sake.
Yeah, that's why I was like, oh, I want that.
Thing is though, it's not even like kibble has to be one of my favourite fish things.
Fish.
But it's not like KFC chicken crunch type. It's literally like if you slightly seared.
I think it's okay. It doesn't have to be crunchy.
I don't know if it's would it be saying. It's. I'm trying to think. What can I describe? PD, can you describe that a bit?
Raid.
Oh, Raid, hello.
Kaiser,
There's the raid.
hello. Thank you so much for the raid. How was your stream?
What do you mean you didn't think I love it? PD,
Hello.
I had that much, I nearly
How
went
was your
sick.
stream?
remember?
Thank you for the raid.
Oh god, there's
Oh fuck, I typed it wrong. Oh my god, Jesus Christ.
Oh wait, it didn't come.
She was good, but there's something in the air. Oh. Like. Power outage. Healers were off shift today. Oh no.
Hiccups.
That's not good.
Up, up.
But yeah, hello everybody, I'm Neo. I usually play old games, but sometimes I also collab with people and doing random things. I also draw on streams sometimes. Oh, I should have my first early stream this week.
Oh, booster juice, hell yes.
Anyway, I'm back.
That'll be my favourite. Welcome back. Do not let me go near the shop in Canada called Booster Juice.
What is
For your
that?
own safety. It's addiction in a shop. That's all I'm gonna have to say.
Oh,
if you
I'm
like yogurt.
scared. Yeah, okay.
I basically nearly got barred for buying too much.
Oh god.
Yeah, it's like it is a smoothie. We don't have. I literally said to them on Twitter, Booster Juice, saying, "If you come to the UK, I will open a franchise for you on your behalf." Like no joke. But yeah, I nearly got barred, and I spent about $300 in one day, in one sitting.
Coffee! We want to sell!
Coffee? How much coffee?
Like 16.
Yes. There we go. We need to restock. We just sold it all. Yeah, I spent nearly 300, nearly buying the whole stock, like all their supplies in that shop. The management are upset at me because I was buying it all, not leaving enough for their regulars. So they said, like, we need to cut you off here, mate.
What, sir? I
like,
want to buy it. You get money anyway.
I know. It's just like. It's mad. I don't understand how it's illegal to make a drink that good.
I never had it. I'm very curious now.
I would say go for it, but if you've got bad impulse when it comes to like drinks and food and stuff, do not go.
It's okay. It's not like I have a choice of actually getting it anyway. So.
But yeah, basically, there was a flavor I really liked. It's my first one I bought. It's called Brazilian Thunder.
Oh.
And I think it was raspberries, blueberries, and banana.
Peanut butter protein. I want peanut butter. I like peanut butter everything. Peanut. Kto? Steptosus. What else do I need to get? More coffee. Look at our money. We have 444.
Hog.
Noise. I'm tempted to go booster juice now on my home. Oh, can you teleport one to me?
Right, can you ship one over to the UK, please? I'm desperate for one. I kid you not. As soon as I come home to the UK, back to the UK, I went feral for a week because I couldn't get.
Thanks again for the raid. Sorry, continue.
Sorry. No, but I swear to God, I was like feral. I was like, I need to see a therapist. This is fucking stupid. It's fucking mad.
I shouldn't have cannon in your direction.
Good. I need it. I was like, I swear the fucking must have spiked my drink to make that addictive to that shit or not. I can't tell. How I was saying that, I saw on a YouTube video of inside of the shopping centre, or inside a shopping centre called the Traffic Centre in Manchester, and there's a shop called Booster. It's got the same style of logo, different colours though, and I'm very tempted to go to try it if it's the same thing because they sell the exact same stuff as Booster Juice.
What? I might.
So if I do that, I might get kicked out that shop as well.
You can say.
And I do get addicted because the thing is, I'm gonna have to say this because I'm allowed to by legal rights. Britain hasn't really got much to offer when it comes to food and stuff, other than a few handful of items. Because the rest of it is literally a copy paste of the other.
Oh my god.
So when you introduce a British boy with something that's very flavourful and very different, you go absolute berserk.
Oh god. I'm hungry for some fish.
Same.
Funny, I just had
Imagine-
I had fish for dinner today, but I want more. Who did this? Who cracked eggs on the floor?
What the eggs on the floor? Damn. People be like that.
I can't believe this. I
Actually,
can't believe you've done that.
PD, can we learn how to make kibble now? The thing is that you can't air fry it. You've got to actually deep fry it in actual oil. So that means you need to go buy out an actual oil fryer and shit. And that's going to cause a mess and smell and...
Oh, it's the music. I was like, who the fuck is fighting? This sounds like someone's just plummeting some fists.
I could see what you mean. It's like fist fight outside the shop.
It's like, what's happening? Someone fighting with a box or something?
It's just like UK outside of a Tesco. You get drunk people fighting over random shit.
We don't have Tesco anymore.
What?
They moved out.
Wait, they don't have Tesco's in Poland?
No.
What?
We used to have them, but they're not here anymore.
They're infested here in the UK. Like, I kid you not, there's either 1 or 2 shops in every town you go to.
Give me back my Tesco.
Thief. Game, no. Ah. Thief.
If.
Okay, you got it. Okay. Oh, peanut butter jelly.
Peanut butter jelly.
I'm in North America. We have people fighting outside of Costco. Wait, the spice is what goes involved in the kibble now? You know what that means, Petey? We need to go back. How much is a plane ticket to the Netherlands right now?
No people.
Yeah. Wait, hang on. What's it? So purchase a new section using your... Oh, God, it wants us to physically expand the shop.
Or... No people. We are closed for the day.
How much more did you want to keep going? Because we actually have gone 2.5 hours for this. And I know it's quite late for you.
I don't know. I'm fine. Go a little bit longer. Unless you wanna end.
Nah.
KFC.
Not allowed to leave.
Food.
No, but the talk of food and stuff is actually a nightmare. Because
Yeah.
I go on this tangent about food, like, oh, how good food is. Then I start feeling hungry, and I complain that I'm hungry, and then I complain about the food I mentioned before that I can't get and stuff. And it's just like,
I mean, we are sort of staring at food all the time in this game, so.
yeah.
Pasta has dropped in price. Can't believe this.
Which one?
Pasta.
Oh, the
Spaghetti.
fancy one. The spaghetti.
The spaghetti.
That one. We're good,
Spaghetti.
I think. Milk's not selling. What the hell?
What?
The milk's not selling. Oh, come on. I'm not lowering it below the market price. I'm not giving you 8 cents off just so you can buy it.
Yeah, what the heck?
God. This game file's cursed. Milk's not selling.
We're not buying milk anymore.
No, I think I overbought it by accident.
Uh-oh, they know. Fucking sentient.
Actually, speaking of which, we have got fish in the fridge.
Ooh.
I got 2 sea basses.
Ooh.
But I'm too lazy to cook.
You made the
I was like,
whole
what?
town lactose intolerant.
Lol.
Maybe it's the curdled milk, I don't know. It's all of the floor milk.
Honestly, to tell you a story, because since I'm in like a farming town and stuff, everyone like eats proper food, local food, and all that stuff. So when the government announced that it wants to try and push plant-based milk and stuff, you should have seen the Facebook groups and all that stuff going off. It's just like hell's just been let loose.
Oh my god. I'm not very fond of any of the plant-based. They don't really...
Yeah. I tried to drink oat milk for a bit, but then it started to make me feel a bit
Eh.
I don't know if it's just how it's processed or what, but it's like you drink it a few times, like, oh, it tastes nice, but after the more you drink, the more you start to like despise it.
Yeah. Like I would only really accept it if I would making if I was making basically like oats or something, and I would be like, okay, all of this like soy milk or whatever the fuck milk in the fridge, I can use it on this because it doesn't really matter. But like on its own, I wouldn't drink.
I used to have it with like hot chocolate because I thought, okay, because this is at the time when I was working in food, and we have like it's like a everyone should actually. You know what? I can't mention the name where I was working. I worked in the famous Greg's at one point.
Can I open the store?
Yeah, open it. So basically, they introduced bloody oats and soya milk, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to buy this in the supermarket, so I might as well start trying it.
Yeah.
Because no one's buying it. Then I end up using it every time I have a hot chocolate, to the point I got the area manager saying, "Why are we losing so much stock of oat milk or no sales going through?" So then I have my manager come to me and say, "You need to start putting it through the till as oat drink." It's like, "What the customers like my next drink? You're drinking all the oat milk."
I find almond milk in smoothies. Yeah, in a smoothie, I would also be like, yeah, I can just that's fine. But there are limits to my tolerance to weird tastes. Hello? Can I ask for a piece of bread? I have not eaten in a week.
But it's very weird because people give me a funny look saying, "Oh, you're drinking oat milk." So I'm just trying it because I'm not going to spend £4 on a pint of oat milk. And then it's end up saying, "Oh, I really like this." And then after a while, I'll be like, "Oh, I fucking hate this shit. Fucking get it away from me."
Sausage.
Oh, don't say that. I want fucking sausage and bacon now.
I've heard I've heard stories about the legendary sausage roll.
Yes. We sell fucking shitloads. Like, my shops wasn't even the biggest, but I kid you not, I swear we sell about 700 sausage rolls a day,
Oh my god.
and it's just like, what?
People love those.
I was mostly a steak bake or sausage and bean melt person, or beef and veg when that was around, but then they took it away because people didn't really buy it, because by the time we cook them and they cool down, no one wants them because they don't want cold fucking food, even though it's not meant to be sold as hot. That's the one thing. People think you go to a Greg's for hot food. It's like, yes, you think, but no, on the paperwork for Greg's, it says bakery. Which means, okay, it's a bakery, but apparently to sell hot food, you need to be a hot food restaurant. So when we have hot food, we've got to charge VAT.
Oh my god.
So they said, right, okay, so they said you can't cook to order type thing and all that stuff because it's meant to be sold cold. So then you've got people coming in saying, is it hot? It's like, every time you say that, I will be a millionaire by the end of the month.
You know, I understand where they're coming from, but it's like, just go to your home and put in a microwave, bro.
Yeah. And the worst part is, I actually got assaulted by a pie.
You got assaulted by a pie?
My co-workers found it funny, and I still find it funny to this day. An old woman came in buying a vegan bake, and I knew they weren't going to be hot.
Yeah.
That hot, because it's just been out the oven and sat there for 10 minutes. So they're still warm. She said it was frozen, right?
What?
I had to try and tell her, saying, no, it's not frozen because it's still warm. It's the right temperature. We could still sell it. Then she goes in a tantrum, throws it at me. It goes directly on my apron. And the thing is that I thought it wasn't that warm. The bitch was fucking boiling like fucking lava still.
Oh my god.
Like, And I saw steam coming off my apron, and I'm lucky I was wearing the apron. Otherwise, I just got a fucking first-degree burn of that bastard thing.
Oh my god. She's complaining that it's fucking frozen? What?
Yeah, and I was thinking, like, hang on, you nearly burnt me, and you said that thing's fucking cold. What's wrong with you? You would have thought they'd be more sensitive to temperatures and stuff, but Jesus fucking Christ,
Yeah.
man. That thing was lava.
Microwave. Yeah, microwave. Pizza. Pastries. Wishes it's
Well, I have noticed
Hmm?
that I've noticed that some companies have started to copy Greg's.
Oh.
So you start getting these like off brands like called Dave's or Freddy's. And it's like, did you really had to do that for your fucking branding? Really? It's like Freddy's meats sausage roll. It's like, oh really? It's totally Freddy's, isn't it?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good idea to name your company that, but sure.
Yeah, or you got Dave's Halfy Roll. It's like, I like the effort, but no, that's still a fucking sausage roll from Greg's, man. Like, come on.
It's so hard, the friction in the air is the boiled.
Ashin, you
Wait,
are
hold on,
market.
wait, hold on. I have to go check up on dog.
Yeah. So wait, what? Okay. You're gonna sack off everything. The thing is, though, is like in the UK, we've got like you always got those shops which are like ran by either Indians or like Middle Eastern families and stuff, and they do like off brands of like KFC or McDonald's or whatever else. We've actually got a decent one in the town. Like since our KFC closed down in our town because of the structural problems, they stepped in to basically fill the hole of like fast food chicken, like chicken based, and the food's not that bad. Me and PD get the food from there quite often, but it's very common in the UK to find off brands of all sorts. So if you can think of a big company brand, there's always going to be an off brand of that brand. Ba, 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 da, ba. Ba-da-bing. But I'm pretty sure there has been like actual shops in real life where it says supermarket as the actual name of the shop as well. I'm not gonna lie. And why are we getting customers still coming in? It's closing time. Get out. Oh, just make sure you're buying food and stuff. You've got a look and a half on you, Jesus. Super Mario Market. I have not. For some reason, that name is ringing a bell in my head. What's going on with my model? It just went zoom. Oh, really? Lol. I wouldn't be surprised though if Nintendo tried to sue them purely for this fact that they spent money on trying to release something, but found out something already exists under that name.
Sorry, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. I had to go. My sister came in because we have adopted a dog this Saturday, and
Nice.
the dog is very anxious because actually I don't know why. I don't know why I'm saying because as if I know, but basically she's been in a shelter for 5 years, and we went there during summer and we saw her and we're like, oh, no one wants to take this little dog. Why? She's so cute. And like, oh, because she's very anxious and she kind of she can bite if she gets too scared. And we're like, but this is such a small doggy. And
What
yeah,
type of dog is it?
Hmm?
What type of dog is
it's
it?
just like just some kind of mixed one, but it's small. It kind of looks like a dachshund, but sort of not a lot, but like the body shape is similar.
Yeah.
The fur and the color is different, and yeah, they were like, she won't really be able to live without a second dog in the house. And also you can't leave her outside. Well, you can't really like let her go for a walk. Let her go out in your garden without a leash because she might escape and stuff like that. Basically, very paranoid dog, and just I guess she was hurt or something by somebody.
Right.
And we were like, you know what? Listen, we have one dog who's also scared of everything. It doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
we're like, fine, we can take her. So we did, and she was she seems to be taking it well, except right now she won't go upstairs. So she only is like living in the living room. And for the 2 days my mother was sleeping in there with her, and today well, my mom figured, you know what, I just want to go back to my room because I have work tomorrow and I won't get enough sleep if I am sleeping on the couch. So I'm like, okay. So my sister was like, okay, I'm gonna sleep there with her. So she is trying to sleep there with her, except because my other dog will only sleep with my mother, she does not want to sleep there. She just like keeps like crying.
Oh God.
So it's like, what do we do? So currently trying to get the other dog downstairs and see if she stays there. But yeah, it's something. Something's happening. But yeah, baby dog. Very scared. It's okay. Sure, like a week she'll be used to this. What do I want to buy? Peanut butter.
Yum. I have the flour.
Yay. Flour.
Also, I was actually having this conversation the other day. It's either yesterday or the other day. Peter was asking and saying, okay, what do we want if we were to get another pet? And it's like a rabbit, a calling duck, a dog, or a cat. And I said, even though I want a dog really badly, I'd rather get a rabbit. But the thing is that if I did get a dog, it'd be a German Shepherd, right? Don't hate me for this, but I would have called the dog, the German Shepherd, Hans.
Oh God. My mother is very against large dogs, so we were like, you only take small one. And I'm like, okay. There's a lot of...
The thing is that I don't know why, but my family's like, we always come up with like names for dogs. It's like, it's semi-funny, but also like, it's like, okay, that makes sense for the dog name. But it's like, I want a dog that's Hans.
God. No.
And then I was like sitting there thinking, like saying, "Oh God, it's going to sound really bad in the middle of the street." So, Hans, bring me the tennis ball. It's like, but yeah, my oldest daughter's been asking for a bunny rabbit. So,
Robert.
and it's actually cheaper to have a rabbit for vet bill wise and stuff.
Yeah. God's gracious.
Really? I just thinking of that the meme name. The thing is, though, if I do get a German dog as well, my family's going to start speaking in the German accent to it. It's like, I really want to do that to the poor dog.
Oh my god.
Because they've been watching too many of the fucking TikTok videos with the German Shepherd and voiceover in the German accent.
I have no idea what you're talking about, but that sounds scary.
Basically, broken English German accent when they have those funny animal videos.
Oh god.
And it's like, yeah. Oh, I wanted a wolf. They're expensive. PD.
Good as fox.
We need oil. Oil. I think. And bread. Oil and bread. Oil and bread. Oil.
I have cheese.
Okay. Cheese and bread. Right.
I got
oil and bread.
Yeah, I already got cheese. I gotta get spaghetti. Spaghetti.
I'm not that expensive. Come on. Oh, teeth. Yeah, dentists. Lovely. So want the dentist right now.
Oh my god. When can I please get the chocolate milk? I'm sorry, I don't have a license for that.
Yeah, unfortunately in Britain we have to have a license for everything and we don't have a license for the chocolate milk.
Driving 3 hours from this.
To tell the missus then,
You get a streamer license? Of course!
Yep. Sort of.
I got rice. Ooh, basmati.
I need to be careful what I'm saying because fucking British government will probably be fucking listening and be like, what the fuck's this guy talking about? Is he talking shit about the British government again? We need to fucking go bonk him over the head.
Is he talking about some...
Put him in the neck.
Are you talking about a streaming service?
Fucking, you can't talk shit, honestly. It's like, you say something, and they're fucking on you. Like, all those memes and stuff, like saying getting arrested for Twitter and all that shit, they actually are on you. Like, they will fucking get you.
Jesus.
Which is stupid. And yes, I'm talking shit about you now, you fucking...
Oh god.
Because I deal with the police on occasion at the hotel I'm at. And the thing is that I've asked them, like, serious, dead serious in the eye, saying, will you actually arrest me if I talk shit on Twitter? And they went, yeah. They're like, really? Like, yeah, why? Like, nothing, just hypothetical.
Oh my god. No.
It's like, they're that dead serious about it. It's like, what the fuck?
I bought storage.
You bought storage? Nice. Do we need...
Oh no.
Outhouse, I don't
The
think.
storage is not big enough.
Oh god, what are you trying to do?
We don't have stairs inside because it's not long enough.
No, yeah, I think you need it upgrading 3-4 times.
Uh,
I think it's actually 5 times because I think you got to unlock the cube shape, and then the fifth is like stairs.
What the fuck? Please, I just want stairs.
Not a bad setup though,
Yeah.
but it means we can chuck all these boxes in here.
Whatever, we don't need shelves. We don't need racks. Stay on the ground, it's fine.
Hi Bastion, how we doing? You should have been here, like, what, how long ago was it? About an hour and a half ago, we were talking about Scottish, British, and God knows what else in a conversation.
They're good. The place is clean.
And hello, Jason, how we doing? Listen, here we go.
Listen. Boop, 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 boop,
You just
boop.
sponge in the air.
Yes. Wondering.
Also, Scottish is just better. Well, I mean pizza. Oh God, don't mention food. I'm hungry as it is.
Red.
For God's sake. Oh, we lost money.
Yeah, for the storage.
When aren't you hungry? When I'm sleeping.
What?
Ariana's just asking, saying that. So when aren't you hungry? And it's like, when I'm sleeping.
Fair. I relate. I just realized I need to take my meds.
What do
I
you mean
won't be able
lies?
to freaking fall asleep.
Well then.
You nibble in your sleep.
What? I don't. Your ass is like red Kirby. Wow.
What's a red Kirby?
Is that character Kirby?
Yeah, but like, what does a red one do?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I think I understand. Okay. My brain was like, what the fuck does that mean? Yeah.
It's just red.
I forgot the implications. I don't know.
Colours means something. Red, you go faster. 40k logic.
Fire breathing
believe
Kirby.
Fire breathing. Oh.
That's
That's yellow people. No, that's strength. Don't start. I know orc logic and
I'm on
40K.
top of a tree.
Explode big.
I'm on top of a tree.
You're on top of the.
Behind.
You're on top of the. Oh my.
You have to go on top of the tree so I can see it.
Red does not mean explode. It means go red fast.
Bastard. Yellow. That's Pikachu. Closed. Open. Open and closed.
Fuck that rat. No.
11.
Lemon. Oh no.
What?
Oh, this is they're trying to mind fuck us.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I'm hungry.
Hungry.
I blame everyone.
You're hungry.
He's gaslighting me, Bastion. Oh, right. I need to decide what the hell I'm doing after stream, because if I'm going to be this hungry, do I dare cook at like what is it? Most it's going to be like 1 a.m. or something. For God's sake.
Just lie.
And I do apologise for Bastion been crazy Scottish mode.
Amazing. You don't
But
hear.
he is best Scotsman.
You have to open your ears. Open your ears. Based.
By the way, for both chats, if you haven't already, if you haven't followed either of us, go and follow us now because this is most likely going to happen more than once.
Do you see the store? Do you see how much work this needs?
Right?
You're not free. Oh,
Also, we do need to play Peak.
we do not believe it. What? What? What am I saying?
What's going on?
I don't know. I'm saying words that don't sound like words. I tried to say we need to play Peak, but I said something that didn't make any sense. Didn't even sound like words. I don't understand.
Oh no, we actually might need a second till.
I'm
Not gonna
Roomba.
lie. Wait, Roomba? What?
Why am I Roomba?
Oh no, this queue is actually too big.
Oh.
Hold on, I need to shut the trap, I think, and get on with this. Hold on. This is what the fuck? The queue's not going down.
Uh-oh. You need to count faster.
I can't take faster.
I cannot even help you with like checking things, with like scanning things.
Sponge the head. Wash the heads. Give a cleaning service. Oh god, we are running out of stuff.
Next.
Next.
She got in line, I saw that! You're not getting a cleaning service. Okay, I'm done. Wait, what? Coffee.
I can't even get off this pill. This is annoying.
You will never get off the register.
I'm free! Freedom! Run out the door and go home.
Wait,
Every
here's a
supermarket employee
bad
ever.
for cutting in line. I mean that. Master, thank you so much for the fall. What the heck was I doing here? Oh, coffee. Follow the Roomba. A Roomba. That's also a dance.
There's a
Why is this man staring at salt?
he's not got a bag. Get him.
I know.
At him.
I just saw.
Fucking-
I just saw it. I just saw him, and that was very beautiful.
Oh god, there's a mess everywhere. Oh god. Oh. All of a second, there's a smelly pasta somehow with green stink.
I don't know where the other piece fell. Did you just steal a box of coffee? I didn't. I bought it. Coffee.
Yeah, this is the shop's
The
getting
wind-
too small.
I soon-
We're outgrowing it.
But you pay automatically. You cannot really. Oh my god! Imagine having to stay in queue in this game, when you're by
God.
yourself. Ah!
Oh,
The supreme flower. It's mine by right. Ah.
no. Well, saying that, I need to cut Monster out completely out of my diet if I can help it.
Is
Because dentists bollocked me.
oh
They said, you need to stop drinking the bastard stuff. It's like, no.
is Monster out of fashion now?
Nah, it's basically because I've got to get 3 teeth extracted tonight, saying I need to,
Oh
first of all, stop drinking Monster. Secondly, get your teeth pulled out. And thirdly, pay my paycheck for doing the 3 teeth.
Why are they stealing your teeth?
Basically, I got two of them are broken. They've been like that for about a year.
Oh wow.
And then I've got a wisdom tooth decided to do a left-hand turn growing sideways.
What?
So, yeah, I've got all that crap to happen next year. Because I've asked them how soon can I get this extraction. So it'll most likely be 2026.
Oh my god. Dentist's expensive.
This guy just cut queue and then put his shopping through nearly $100 worth.
What the fuck? Where did this come from? Are these people standing on top of these? There was just a piece of, like a bag of flour and a salt on the floor. I think this was what the previous guy dropped after stealing. Oh.
Probably from the one I...
You don't have a bag!
Another one. Get him! Bonk him!
But, like, it didn't appear immediately. It only, like... I only saw it after coming back from the other place.
I have barely come off that till. Jesus Christ, it's like real life.
Hello. Milk some, please.
Like, would you like a bag with that? The bag's 20p. Is that okay? Fuck off. My fucking PTSD with fucking supermarkets. Jesus Christ.
Oh my god.
Do it, but bonk.
Bonk.
And I think my chat scared your chat, by the way.
You have to close the store.
Oh,
No, close the day.
That was totally English. That was totally English.
The room owner is expected to complete the day. They won't let me complete the day.
Holy shit, we earned $1,000 in profit.
Ooh.
We've literally outgrown the shop to the point that we need breathing room.
Panzati pasta! We have to buy a computer, I'm too lazy.
Okay, the drum set. I love that one.
This, and this, and this, and this. I'm not buying tea, that's expensive. Oh, actually...
What's the name? What's the name? Right, do you know the Muppets by any chance?
Yeah?
Neo. What do you know the name of the drummer Muppet?
No.
Does anyone in chat know the name? Animal. Yeah, I just did an animal trying to close the sign.
Animal! His name is Animal?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. It's one of those things. It's like I've been given a nickname Bert.
God,
In
I'm so
school.
based.
Don't ask.
Oh. I mean, isn't Bert the cool one?
No, I don't. It's just, I think it's one of the 2 comedian old men. Why the fuck have we got 4 lots of pasta?
You were looking for a name, it was an animal. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the Muppets' names are odd at times.
Why salt?
I just got salted.
So salted. You got salted.
Oh wait, I was about to. Oh wait, hang on. Have we just been? I was about to say, have we just been buying stuff without checking storage?
Alright, the game is giving us additional pasta again. It does that with pasta every time.
You did knock it down to 1 again, didn't you?
Yeah.
Oh wait, hang on. So these are set on 2 rather than 1.
It just doubles your pasta orders every time.
I'll set these back down to 1 so we don't just order random numbers.
No, it was 1.
I'm just changing it now. Hold on. 2. That's down to 1. That's down to 1.
Wait, it stays
What?
that the number you ordered?
Yep.
What the?
Yeah, I've changed it back down to 1 anyway. In case it was
Oh,
that.
I never changed the amount. I just double click the add to cart. I'm too lazy.
Oh,
to
that's
do
been why
that.
we're getting 4 and 6 and stuff.
Oh. And I was like, game bugged. No, I just don't read.
I've seen him as an animal.
Reading is a gift of knowledge.
I can't read. I'm dyslexic. It's awful.
Oh, I'm so like, how did that fucking Vine go? Although I'm 19, I never fucking learned how to read. Or something. I don't remember what the actual age was. When the dolly is the Roomba and polish. Where we have a store selling bread.
Yes. Wait. No, I don't think has anyone here actually seen the thumbnail we put together, which is like last minute shit. Fantastic.
I just
Hold on.
noticed that we are running out of bread.
Hold on. Let me
You
just.
just said police in Scotland.
Actually, I swear.
I'm nail polish.
Swear. No, we're not doing this. Let me do a quick here.
That's how we say police. Oh my god. I don't know.
Here is our fantastic thumbnail. The British Expo Supermarket Simulator.
Yeah, no, I'm so based. It would be more based if you didn't repeat that every 5 minutes, I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll need bigger arms.
Oh no, we're running out of tea.
Boy, I swear.
I'll need bigger arms. Why are my arms so tiny? What? How do you know my arms are small? There's nothing else for comparison. Maybe my head next to it is just very tiny, like a little ball. The picture showed you with tiny arms. What do you mean?
I just showed them the thumbnail. Oh, this
But-
one.
What's so tiny about the arms there?
He's one of those what do you call it? Muscular.
Muscla.
Muscular.
Muscla.
What was it? I came in the shop. I've done it again. I come in the shop and forgot what I was gonna buy.
Get the... I don't know what you can get, to be honest. You can get peanut butter or tea.
Peanut butter jelly.
Peanut butter. I'm built
Um.
like the side of... But I'm 4 foot tall. You need to get some of that...
You're not 4 foot tall. Stop that. You're taller than me.
Oh, you're 4 foot, but you're French foot tall.
French. Oh, here we go again. 4 foot French.
4 foot French? Did you know that French feet are bigger? We're not making this shit up. This came up earlier when we were talking about Napoleon. I don't know why we were talking about
You're
Napoleon.
wearing really big shoes. Where are you though? No, but basically, I had Bastion and some friends of made online all come to our hand fasting. Bastion was one of them. It came in like the blue suit with glasses, so he looked like some hitman type thing. He's fucking taller than me. He's like, if I looked up, he'd probably be like an extra 2 foot taller than me.
Oh my god.
No, because if that's the case, you're calling Ito small as well.
Don't let the game gaslight. Where are you?
Back in the fucking building again.
Can I open?
Well, I forgot I'd done it again.
I don't know, to be honest. I don't know what we need at this point.
Yeah, Ashford
Do you need
working.
help deciding?
Yeah.
You can get coffee maybe. That's more. That makes sense.
Right. I came in here, but
Oh,
yes, I'll go grab that.
You're back? I thought you were over there.
For fuck's sake. Wait. Coffee, wasn't it? Yeah.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Coffee. Ba, 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 ba.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, the fact that I just kept like adding more to cart than needed because I didn't notice the freaking number. Beautiful.
Oh wait, you opened the store, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, good. I was panicking then, thinking like, did we accidentally open the store? We didn't realise. And we're just
okay.
patting around.
I'm so calm.
Like-
I'm sitting here.
It's like, dun, dun,
I'm
dun,
ready.
dun.
A woman. Oh no, a woman. It's a me, Mario. Great infant. I don't even know. Oh, big shopping.
Yeah, the shopping's getting bigger and the queues are getting longer. It's not helping.
Have to
I'll be on security watch.
squiggly line.
But, Bastion, I swear.
Me too. Oh, milk has gone up in price.
Oh yeah, shit! Forgot to do the price checks.
It's okay.
Bollocks.
I'm doing it. Don't worry. Suzu.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh.
peanut butter. Yes.
Hiccups. No. What do I want? I hate it. When I become hungry, it's just nightmare.
Body's like food.
Yeah, but it's like saying, okay, it's time
Sounds
for
like
food,
you
yeah.
killed the duck. No, I did the that way, but oh well.
Yeah. When I was playing Repo, right?
Yeah.
You know when they added in the duck
Doc.
and
Yes.
yeah, I started to mimic the duck in one of the levels,
Oh.
and then everyone I know in my close circle thinks now I'm super obsessed with ducks. So I just get TikToks and all sorts just related to ducks. Like, okay,
Oh my god.
thanks.
I only played Repo once, and it was last week.
What? Honestly, we need to play Repo and Peak, and we need to get PD and everyone else involved as well because I think more people is more chaotic.
I keep
If I remember
falling.
rightly.
I keep falling down the holes.
Honestly, you've done better going solo than me with other people at the moment.
I spam clicking. Okay.
If Jason, if you're here still, Repo.
Repo. Vanya.
Uh-oh, I'm
What?
stuck.
I saw feet on the thing. I was like, what's happening?
Got stuck.
Vanya, thank you for the raid.
Welcome in, waiters.
Oh, let me shout out.
Oh my god, people are just they're just scooping everything in.
Guys, hold up.
Oh no, I'm not right now, Jay. But we all need to get together again and just start doing repo because I have not played since they've done the
Get up now.
museum thingy. He's a thief. Put the box down, man. Put the box down. Bonk.
Hear the scream. Finally, job. A job. Do you want to join? we can hire you as a security officer.
What was it? I forgot what I was doing. I was going in the stores and be like, okay, what do we need to grab now? And I saw a person with thingy, like, I'm going to steal this.
Oh, Q.
Yeah, massive queue, and I'm rushing to try and keep up the stock levels.
I wasn't looking. I was staring at the chat.
But,
You bought just peanut butter and you fuck. Seriously?
this is like the equivalent to Karen's Diner but supermarket,
Oh god.
where you swear at the customers and tell them to fuck off and stuff.
I am forklift certified, so I can work in the back. Noise. Come in.
We'll get perfect. We'll get you an MLOP, and hopefully that'll be suitable for you.
Giving ass whoopings? Oh, great. Come in, you'll be the freaking... You'll be security. You get a cool ass bat, and you can do just that. I'm rhyming.
I've actually people here. What the hell?
I'm rhyming.
Stop buying everything. These guys, I swear, they are literally wiping the
They're
stride.
hungry, just like you. They get a gun? No, just a baseball bat. I'm sorry. We're not certified.
Nah, we ain't got no license for that.
Look at our other money!
I know. I was about to fucking whack this one though. He's walking towards the door.
And it just
Yeah, and as PD said, it's too quick to have a gun. You might as well have fun
Yeah.
if you're going to do something. By the way, Twitch, it's a fucking joke. Don't fucking ban me for a fucking joke, you twats. Fucking trigger happy the mods and stuff lately at Twitch.
Supreme Monkey is coming out.
Monkey.
Monkey.
Would you ever thought the day come of doing the monkey joke
No.
being a supermarket game?
No. No, because I only this is a joke that my Polish friend told me once, and I was like, wow, I can only tell this like my sister, and that's it.
It's closing time and people are still coming in. What the hell?
They're all hungry.
Closed.
No, you...
Our money just doubled.
Why didn't you share them? It's the funny number. Let's go.
What? Who? What?
Our
Where?
money price is a funny number in Polish.
Which one?
2137. It's a funny number.
137.
2137 is a funny number in Poland.
Is it?
Yes. That's the.
The- Oh my god, that looks fucking menacing. Jesus Christ. You fucking got the light above your head and your face is completely covered in a shadow and all I see is like
do
a
that,
white
do it. I want to see.
line of teeth. Hold on, see if I can stand where I was. You were.
Oh my god! Like a gremlin. Yeah, 2137 is the hour at which the Polish Pope died.
Really? That's a funny number
Yes.
for you guys?
Yes.
What? Are those to be laughing? Or say, you guys are fucked up? Like, is this guy evil or something?
No, not really.
That's like,
Well, like, I don't know. Like,
Best Pope.
it was kind of a joke for just like some people in the past, and then when like more information about like fucked up things in the church started coming out, more people adopted the number to be a funny number. They were like, okay.
Well then.
Well done. He knew about all of this fucked up shit. Well, let's go. Let's use the 137. It's fine.
Oh boy. So after that rush and me struggling with the restocking, and you as well, and me with tills, we need to hire Fred
Yes.
to take over,
Right.
and we need a bigger shop.
We need more stock.
More stock. Management.
Polska górą.
Oh, it's only 350 for upgrade.
Nice.
Boom.
Whoa.
Ooh!
I can now sponge. I'm stuck. Oh no.
You're now flying.
Help me.
Go that way. Go backwards.
Oh, thank
There you
you. I can now clean
So we've
the
gained
things. No.
6 foot in width.
This is where I live now. Oh, why can't I crouch?
Oh, wait. You might want to wiggle for a second.
Ah.
Because I don't know if that you'll glitch into the world if I put that there. No, just
Careful.
quickly put this.
Get
Right,
more
we've got a
play.
bigger shop. Now, question is,
No,
was it a mistake?
We need to buy more more freaking lamps now. The closed sign is on the wrong side now.
what? Shit, it has moved. Like, that's confusing. What?
Black Timer, hello. How you doing?
Oh, the sign's improved.
Yeah.
The supermarket. The... Bleh.
Blah blah. I miss this game. Come to this game, be a security officer.
This is how we do our recruitment.
This is our recruitment, we just go. In the future, this is how all the jobs will be decided. You just go into Twitch and look for fucking job offers. Is the pay good? You get a piece of bread every day.
I bought something very helpful.
What did you get?
Check the tab button.
Ooh.
We don't need the
I
computer.
became a
anymore.
pigeon.
Huh?
I became a pigeon.
Pigeon?
Ooh.
Oh, that's true.
What's? Oh no, it's the
I got-
music again. It's the one that sounds like people hitting each other.
It's the Tesco fight music.
I threw it a fish. Yes, fish does that.
There we go. Right, now we need to restock all this crap.
Mm.
Do we actually want to hire somebody so we can focus on
Maybe.
big finky funks?
I'm settled. You're settled?
Wait, settled as in like, hold on, Peter, does that mean paperwork-wise thingy, what I'm thinking it is, or no? Yay, Pog. Okay, it means PD's settled in the UK.
Whoa.
It's like,
Oh.
what, I don't know what you guys call it outside the UK, but basically, when you come to the UK, you've got like multiple processes to come through to become permanent resident. Like, yeah, it's basically settled means it's like the last stage before you can apply for full citizenship.
Nice. Congratulations. The market get bigger. It did get bigger. My friend only went nuts. What happened? Did he also buy a kilogram of cheese? What?
Oh no. Here we go. We're doing cheese rolling.
Get in that cheese. I need to pay the bills.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the bills. Oh, rip our money then.
Having a maniacal... how do you read that? Maniacal? There's maniac episode?
I think so. My dyslexia's not let me read.
I cannot read either. What happened? Ah. Do I look like I know how to read? Would that be on Twitch if I knew how to read?
That's many things. Okay, so do that for now. Leave the bottom two shelves until we know what the hell we're doing.
Yes. Cheese!
Many cheese.
Any cheese. Require cheese. Salt. Lava.
Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
What?
That one.
No. I keep having to go into storage and just put a box with one item in there. We are restocked. Except coffee and tea. I'm gonna get something. I'm gonna get coffee.
I'll go and grab some stuff from the dairy.
Airy.
Oh, that reminds me. I need to set up my subscription again for the Milkman services.
Milkman.
Yes. And people think we're still crazy for having old school methods of delivery of things.
Milk.
Thing is that at the Milkman delivery service, they do eggs, they do yogurts, they do apple juice, orange juice, and all sorts.
She's talking about her new philosophy that somehow involves the infinity of time and space. Problem is that everything else is wrong. She's not sleeping since 48 hours and she's talking about this with literally everyone. What the fuck? You need to knock her unconscious! This is the only hope. American grocery? What the fuck? Oh no. Did she get onto the new hype thing of AI is my god?
I'll place that. That's a joke. That's happened.
People are getting freaking crazy over that.
It's a tool. It's don't let the fucking tool turn you to a tool.
It's a real problem. Do we
Right, I
open?
need to get eggs.
Egg. Do we open?
Egg.
Oh wait, water.
Uh,
Water.
water and egg.
Water.
And the coffee. Wait, did we get the coffee and beans? Beans? What the hell's beans come from?
Beans?
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason I have beans.
Why people trust me with this stuff? I don't know. You seem they I don't know. You seem like they think you're a good friend. So they're like, okay, you are trustworthy. I will ask you for help.
Oh bollocks! What did I say I was going to get?
What they come here
Eggs,
for?
wasn't it?
Water.
What did I? Oh, does anyone in chat remember what I was on about getting? Because I forgot. Was it milk or eggs?
Eggs.
Was it eggs?
Yeah, it was eggs.
Okay.
This water is what? Is what?
Water's wet.
This music makes me want to play Sims.
Wait, what makes you want to play Sims?
The music playing on the speaker.
Oh, yeah. Right. Release the hounds.
Release the hounds. Oh, let the dogs out. Oh.
Woof, woof, woof.
I just want to eat everyone out of the window. Cannot
Not
eat.
our windows. Our windows are expensive.
We just paid for that. Did you know we started the game? We started our store with $50 in our pocket.
I wonder if it's actually possible.
I don't think so.
Intimidating the guy.
Give me more monies. The best thing that whatever I do is only funny on your screen.
Everyone will be in your end be like, what the hell is on about? And then on my end, everyone's seeing fucking full 4K bullshit. What's going on?
I'll destroy your store windows? No!
No bag, no bag. Faith, faith, faith.
He's dressed like freaking Mr. Beans. Mr. Bean of
He
Mr. Beans.
teleported.
Oh, hello. What do you buy?
I bonked him into.
Into
Yeah, it is an
oblivion?
average name, Birmingham.
You bonked him into oblivion? So the haircut lineup and was very on the accept credit card. Credit card. It's okay. I can do math. I cannot read, but I can do math. Not like I really need to be honest. Game just counts everything for you.
Oh god. Beck. Right.
Taxes.
I need to get sticky notes so I can just write down what I want to get and then stick it on my forehead so I'm like, okay, this is what I need to get.
But if you stick it on your forehead, you will also need a mirror.
Shit.
Hello? Oh, you're buying a lot of doubles. Double cheeseburger. Name your store! You have to name store! The objective
We
is
need to
name your store!
Name the store.
Yeah.
Right. We need to come up with a funny Polish and British name.
Yeah, my brain is not braided. Chat, this is your time to shine. No! Gregory! Greg Brzęczyszczykowicz.
So we go again with the fucking tariffs.
Oh god.
Ashensura Emporium.
Oh my god. That's a mouthful.
It is. I'm coming back with flour, but I'm panicking because...
Babushka shop.
Babushka.
That's Russian.
Yeah.
I mean, not really, but sort of. Yes. Slop for sale.
That's fair. Poppy.
You should obviously call it monkey business.
And as you said, that's a message coming through. Oh, wait, what's this?
Susu!
They want to sell...
Oh, you want to buy?
I don't want to just buy one single box.
Yeah, what?
No.
Oh.
I don't think you need to vote as well.
It's probably it's probably cheaper to just go buy it in the freaking thing anyway. I can't. It won't let me. It won't let me press P anymore because I closed the window. Oh wait, now it does. Okay.
Monkey.
Monkey. What the fuck is happening?
I don't know. My brain just died again.
The game is not
What?
accepting my mouse input.
Right, what do we need in the shelf from your view at the till?
Why did I don't know. Ask them. I can't help. Okay, I fixed
We're
it.
all panicking.
I fixed it. It's fine.
You good?
Yes.
Coffee. There it is. And hello, PD.
Fucking
Fix it with violence.
the game.
Soup.
Soup. What do you mean you're at soup?
Fucking PTSD now. Soup.
Why? Why is soup giving you PTSD?
Ross punk.
Mm.
Basically, I played Frostpunk first on stream, and then everyone was so obsessed with soup. It's my own fault because I encouraged it, and we started a soup cult.
Oh my
To the
god.
point we started doing some weird ritual stuff because when it had the option to add sawdust into the soup, it's like sawdust for the soul. Jesus Christ, man!
Was it yesterday? Wasn't that today?
I'm soup.
I did say that.
Well,
But that's like skipping a lot of context.
yeah, midnight has passed, and so has our sanity.
Or what is sanity anyway?
I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one, Tom.
Bro, I don't know. I never considered the day to be in the next day until I go to bed. Time is
Oh,
not
God,
real.
This is mad. Going back and forth between these shops
Mad.
is not a good idea.
Why are you buying clothes at the soup store?
Hello? An anonymous gift.
Anonymous.
Thank you, Anonymous, for the 5 gifted. Hello? What?
You have to get up at 6? Go to bed! You only have 4.5 hours left.
Thank you, anonymous gifter.
Anonymous.
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 I
I was thinking about it. Do, 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 do.
You have to get up it.
I was.
Everyone, it's one of those catchphrases,
Yeah.
and everyone sings about it.
Manam manam do 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 do. Manam do.
Phenomenon.
Manam do 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 do. Speedy.
Speed is key. Just going around the fucking thing. It's like running in the 90s.
Gas, gas, gas.
What are we doing? It's like our fucking brains has just gone to mush now, haven't they?
Yes. I wasn't even.
Jesus.
You know what? I wasn't even thinking about what I'm doing. You at least have enough sanity to like consider that what you're doing is weird. I was like, yeah, this is normal human behavior.
Like, do any subs things not updated? Let me guess, my bot broke. Streamlabs, your bot system's shit.
You have Streamlabs?
Yeah, I got these Streamlabs labels thing. So text can. Oh wait, there we go. Now it fucking updates as I fucking go into the settings and bullshit.
I ate everything.
Trolling bastard. It trolls me. Fucking Streamlabs is designed to fucking troll the shit out of me.
No. Also, I think I'll stay awake until I finish the job I have to do
Don't do it.
tomorrow. If something happens. No.
Don't do it because I work night shifts and I said the same thing before and I nearly stayed awake for 48 hours. Don't do it.
Go to bed now.
Go sleep.
Go sleep. Because in case you do have to stay awake later, then at least you can get those 4 hours of sleep.
Mm-mm.
It's like one full REM phase. At least.
Wait a minute, I just realised something.
What?
I had 0 as a starting goal, right?
Yes.
It says 6.
Ah.
Oh wait, no, wait, hang on. PD.
Oh, PD.
yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah, PD's about. I was thinking like, hang on, 5 does not equal 6 then. My
Math.
fucking brain. My bloody
Usually
brain.
makes things worse for me when it's late. I just go on with the night.
Mm.
You guys are giving bad advice. Sleep nice. Sleep is good.
Right. On that note, we're at the 4-hour mark. Since our brains are dead,
Yes.
do we halt
Probably yes.
until next time?
Yes.
And then we find another reason to start talking about French feet again.
I'll go to sleep if we're gonna sing a Polish lullaby. I don't know any. Problem solved. I have 4 energy drinks to obliterate my... No.
Right. Be well.
Well. Wow, wow, wow.
Well. Blah, 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 blah.
Susu, sugar. Brain. Okay. I think maybe you have to complete the day. And then you can save? Question mark?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh. Dollar profit is on the minus. Oh, he.
we have made minus money, apparently. But we got money.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, I just did a quick mute just to sort of say to people we're about to end and get some suggestions for raiding. Do we want to do a dual raid to a friend of mine and a person I moderate for called Solve?
I don't know.
Can we do a quick?
I don't know what you said to me. My brain wasn't here.
Yeah, I think we both need to go bleh. But I need to go quickly get the. How does it work for raiding when it comes to?
Everyone has their own raid.
Right, hang on. Let me see if I can get the. Grab their Twitch handle.
Watch.
They'll be happy to have us over there. If you guys like Final. Yeah, it's Final Fantasy night tonight. So.
Final Fantasy.
Right, I sent the thing to you in the Discord. Holy shit, I just looked at Discord. I've got 20 message requests. What the fuck?
What happened?
What bot has decided to say, okay, we're going to message this fucking user? The fuck? Hold on. Anyway. Yeah, oh my god. I sent you a message. And also, I'm happy that Discord brought back that feature for when you're in VC that you can tell people that you're AFK and all that stuff.
Oh my god. They want pain and suffering.
Right? Let me see. Yeah, it's literally copy paste. I'm looking at all these accounts. It's literally. Why?
God. You didn't end the stream just to put me to sleep. No, I'm also sleepy because it's late.
Yeah. Like, Nia Sir actually has a sleep schedule, unlike me. So.
It's not a good one, but it exists.
Right. Anyway, I am. How the fuck do you rate? I'm so bad because I fucking forgot how to stream and shit because I've been having so much going on.
You forgot stream.
I forgot how to stream commands and stuff.
No.
There we go. /raid. Raid has begun. On my end, I don't know if it's going to work for you guys or not, but we'll be raiding Solve.
We will also be raiding because we got married as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good bean. They need the help because they, well, basically they. Long story short, they were with a agency. They've become indie, and it's caused a fair bit of burnout and stuff like that. So it'd be nice to send them some good stuff.
Fair.
So.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for playing.
Are you going to?
Probably best combo. Just trying to get the supermarket up. Hopefully, we have more brain power next time.
Hopefully,
to do this, because this was the very last minute. Be like, yes, let's do this.
Yes. Chat, remember to say hi.
Yeah, say hi to Bing. Solve. Yeah, it's Solve. Fucking hell, I thought I had the wrong handle then to raid.
I see you're trapped in my gay and stupid maze again.
I copied it from chat.
I forgot the raid message. Hold on.
Say hi. Some funny things into my mouth.
That message there on my end. Go.
Mine is
Done
just
it.
fish.
Say boy.
Okay, goodbye, chat.